Wendy is an art teacher. This morning, someone pranked her by putting glue on her coffee mug. She questioned 3 suspects. Blair says,
I didn't do it. I was too busy painting these beautiful flowers.
Jason says, I overslept and came to the studio later than you. And Zara says,
Why would I do that? You're my favorite teacher.
who did it? It was Zara. There's a glue pen in her pocket. Wendy gives her students a task and leaves the studio. After a while, she returns and sees this painting. She says, Wow, who painted this masterpiece? 3 students claim to be the author of the painting. Can you guess who tells the truth? To solve this mystery, we should take a look at their palettes. Only this student has all colors that match the painting. Wendy goes outdoors to buy some food for lunch. Suddenly, she sees a cyclist lying on the ground. Can you guess what happened here? In fact, the car hit the ketchup bottle. The cyclist just fell nearby and got stained. Wendy receives a delivery. 3 identical boxes with artist supplies. All boxes are labeled incorrectly. Wendy needs to label all boxes correctly by opening just one of them. Can you help her? Since all 3 boxes contain the wrong items, Wendy should open the 3rd box. If it contains watercolor, the first box will definitely have brushes, and the second box, watercolors and brushes. And if she finds brushes in the 3rd box, the first one will contain both watercolors and brushes, while the second one, watercolors only. The delivery guy walks outside and yells, Hey, call the police! Someone stole my car! The police begin an investigation and find these 3 suspects. One of them is a thief. Can you guess who? The first guy is just coloring his fence, and the 3rd one is a gardener. But the second guy is hiding a lockpick in his shirt pocket, so he's the thief. Wendy comes to a party. 3 guys invite her to dance, but one of them is a werewolf. Can you guess who? The first guy is just wearing a werewolf costume. The second one has some scratches, but it proves nothing. But the 3rd one has a real wolf tail. After the party, Wendy wakes up in a cell made of ice. She only has a pickaxe in her hand. Meanwhile, her best friend Zach is locked in a similar cell with a drill. Can you predict who will escape? Only Wendy will escape. Zach can't use a drill without electricity. The next day, Wendy arrives at the art studio. She leaves her takeaway coffee at the desk and goes to the toilet. Wendy returns and finds out that someone had drunk her beverage. She checks the cup surface for fingerprints, but she only finds her own traces. Wendy questions 3 suspects among students. Blair says, Sorry, I've been washing my brushes in the sink. I didn't look at your desk. Jason says, Sorry, I don't like coffee, and besides, I've been streaming stories for my followers. And Robin says, I was changing in the dressing room to be a model for portrait class. Can you spot the thief? It was Jason. Take a look at his back pocket. He's hiding rubber gloves. That's why he didn't leave any fingerprints. Wendy receives an emergency call. Someone had stolen paintings from her art studio gallery. Wendy interrogates 3 suspects among the visitors. Sarah says, I came here to buy some of your paintings, but when I entered the gallery, the walls were empty. Jill says, I went blind 7 years ago, so I didn't see anything. I only visit this gallery to use your toilet. And Robert says, Why would I rob this place? I'm the major investor. Who's lying? Jill, if she's really blind, why did she bring this photo camera with her? Wendy carries out entrance exams for art students. One of these 3 artists is left-handed. Can you guess who? It's the third guy. It's easier for lefties to hold a palette in their right hand and paint with their left. This way, his left hand works and the right one stays static. During exams, one guy named Bobby gets very sick and faints. Wendy calls the ambulance and takes him to the hospital. She's just met Bobby, so she doesn't know his relatives, but still, Wendy manages to notice his wife in the hospital right away. Can you spot her too? It's the first lady. They have identical tattoos, and the third lady has a similar mole on her cheek, so she's probably Bobby's sister. Doctors suspect poisoning, so they keep Bobby in the hospital to make tests. Meanwhile, Wendy returns to the studio and questions 3 witnesses among the applicants. Sheila says, "Bobby didn't look healthy in the first place. I don't blame him. Everyone was stressed out during exams." Sam says, "I have no idea who poisoned him, but this person is heartless." And Xavier says, "I think Bobby's just pretending to be ill to get accepted out of pity." The next day, Bobby calls Wendy with the test results. He was poisoned. Wendy calls the police right away and they arrest one of the witnesses. Can you guess who and why? Sam. He knew about the poison before the test results were ready. The next morning, Wendy enters the studio and sees that someone has left a hot mess. Canvases are torn and paints are spilled all over the floor. Can you count all the brushes in this room? "13. What about the glass jars? Can you count the exact number? There are 8 glass jars in this studio, including this broken one. Wendy asks her 3 students, "Who's responsible for this mess?" Nina replies,
I think it was David. He never washes his hands and clothes. He's such a weirdo.
David says, "It was Nina. She's just jealous because her paintings weren't selected for an art exhibition." And Amber says,
"I don't know who did it. Yesterday, I was feeling sick and stayed home."
Who's responsible for this mess? Take a look at the canvas frames. They're all signed. The only canvas that wasn't torn has David's name on it. Therefore, he ruined the studio and his rival's works. Wendy asked her students to the park for an en plein air class. Can you see any weird details in this area? This is an apple tree, but why are there so many oranges under it? 2 students have painted almost identical pictures. Can you help Wendy find 3 differences? Here they are. What about these portraits? Can you spot 3 differences? Over here. After the class, Wendy is trying to leave the park and gets lost. She has to walk through this confusing maze. Can you help her find the way out? Only the first path is correct. On the way home, Wendy enters a supermarket. Can you count the number of cacti? Six. Someone had broken the most expensive car in the parking lot near Wendy's apartment building. The police interrogate 3 witnesses to find out who's guilty. Carl says, "This is my car. I parked it as usual and went home. Wendy woke me up with her call." Gia says,
I was just having a yoga class in a studio nearby. This car belongs to my ex-boyfriend Carl. Too bad he loved this car more than me.
and Peter says, "Carl's my neighbor, but he's not my best friend, if you know what I mean. I've been working all day and just arrived." Who broke Carl's car? It was Gia. She's hiding a baseball bat inside her yoga mat. Helen and Dylan go to the movies. Can you spot anything odd in this place? There's a spider hiding in this guy's popcorn. This lady has a working camera, which is not allowed in the movies. The seats are numbered in a random order in this row, and there's a monster hiding behind the seats. Can you spot a criminal among these two truck drivers? The second guy is just shipping tomatoes, but someone scrawled the word "help" on the window of the first truck. Therefore, the first driver is the criminal. Can you guess which driver is more dangerous? The second one. Who uses such weird decor for his car? Breaking news! Someone stole exclusive diamond shoes from the local museum. Many people visited the exhibition that day, but the criminal had left no clue. The police arrive at the crime scene. Detective Smith checks the camera records and spots the thief right away. What about you? Something about this lady is very suspicious. Her height increases in the second footage. This probably means that she's wearing the stolen diamond shoes. Kelly throws a pajama party, but one of her guests is a criminal. Can you guess who? This lady is a thief. She hid the stolen items inside a pillow. Let's check how eagle-eyed you are. Can you spot 3 differences between these two pictures? Here they are. Yes! What about these pictures? Are they identical? Nope, there are 3 differences. Can you see 3 differences here? Here they are. Great job! Yes! Philip runs a publishing house. One day, he gets an anonymous message. His best illustrator, Victor, has a secret relationship with one of his female co-workers. Only 4 ladies work in Philip's farm. Sheila is an SMM manager. She has just returned from the Maldives. It was her honeymoon. Bella is a content manager. She's very shy and lives with 5 dogs. Lily is a part-time writer. She's single and parties all the time. And Kelly is an office manager. She's very ambitious and writes her own book in her spare time. Can you guess Victor's secret crush? Bella! Philip has white dog hair on his jacket, just like Bella. Crystal is a doctor. She arrives at a medical conference and takes several pictures with her colleagues before the event. In an hour, the local janitor finds Crystal unconscious in the storage room. Later, Crystal gets better and tells the police, "I was walking to the toilet. The last thing I remember was someone pushing me from behind. I don't know who did it." Police questioned all the doctors. Everyone claims that they were listening to the report when the attack took place. Officers examine the pictures before the conference and immediately identify the criminal. What about you? Crystal tried to protect herself and tore the string on the criminal's neck.
Oh my god.
So it was this guy with a broken badge. Harold is the richest man in town. This evening, he lost his memory because of a car accident. His only family is his daughter. When Harold wakes up in a hospital, two ladies claim to be his daughters. One of them is lying. Can you help Harold identify the real one? There's a photo frame near Harold's bed with a picture of him with his daughter. She has a mole on her cheek, and this lady too. So she's the real daughter. Peter gets lost in a haunted house and finds 3 doors. He needs to choose one of them to escape. There's a cute family of polar bears behind the first door. A couple of hungry, angry wolves are waiting behind the second door, and they haven't been eating for 7 years. And there are hundreds of venomous snakes behind the third door. Which way is more or less safe? The second one. Wolves can't survive without food for so long, so they're not a threat anymore. Mary is heading back home from work through a forest road. Somewhere along the way, she gets lost. She comes across 3 caves. Mary needs to choose one of them to go ahead. There are venomous scorpions inside the first cave. They can't wait to bite Mary. Inside the second cave, there's a tiger that will eat her alive. And inside the third cave, there are man-eating bats. Which cave is more or less safe? If you noticed, the sun is still up. It's daytime and bats are sleeping, so the third cave is the safest option for Mary. Detective Smith gets a task to investigate a robbery. He questions a witness who saw the thief escaping. He says, "In my car's mirror, I saw a masked man driving away in panic, but I wrote down the number of his car." Detective Smith takes the note with the number. Police find 4 cars with similar number plates. Detective Smith carefully examines all 4 cars and figures out which one of them belongs to the robber. How? Since the witness looked at the car number through his mirror, the image was reflected. It means that this was the original car number. Amy lives with her 3 sisters. She's a professional violinist. Her sister always complains that she loves music more than her own family. One day, Amy leaves for the gym, and when she returns home in the evening, she discovers that all her super expensive violins are broken.
Oh, God.
She immediately calls the police. Detective Smith arrives and interrogates everyone. Amy's elder sister, Sarah, says,
I was sleeping the whole time. I don't know anything.
Detective Smith asks her what the other sisters were doing at the time.
They were both reading books and eating dinner in the living room. Only the younger sister was having fun at a party downtown.
Detective Smith immediately realizes who broke the violins. What about you? If Sarah was sleeping, how did she know who was doing what?
Duh.
This implies that she's hiding something. A woman in tears enters Detective Smith's office and asks for his help. She explains,
I was walking down the road when a man approached me from behind, snatched my phone from my hand, and ran away.
But Detective Smith suspects 3 people and invites all of them. But everyone says that they didn't steal the lady's phone. Detective Smith checks their phones and immediately understands who did it. Can you guess who snatched the phone? Take a look at the wallpapers. This is the lady's dog, so the first guy stole her phone.
Oh no.
After a particularly large snowfall, Chuck walks outdoors. He discovers a weird thing. He has half as much snow in his yard as his neighbors, but it seems like Chuck is not surprised at all. Can you guess why? Simple. Chuck's yard is half the size of his neighbor's. Vicky is filming a video blog about this haunted house. Suddenly, she freaks out because this place is full of frogs. How many frogs can you see in this picture? The correct answer is 11. Vicky runs away to the basement and sees a creepy collection of clown masks. How many masks can you spot? This one is not a mask, it's a portrait. Philip is walking down the street. Suddenly, a woman approaches him from behind and sneaks his wallet. She runs away and hides in one of the houses. Philip follows her. The owner of the house is inside. Philip asks him, "Has anyone visited you today?" The owner replies, "Nope, neither have I left the house. I live here alone and work from home." After hearing the owner's words, Philip knows for sure that this guy is a liar. How come? There are 3 cups of hot tea at the table and female sandals standing near the door. So he's probably an accomplice of the thief.
Today, I'm going to test your attention. During the whole video, you should stay alert and keep your eyes wide open. Do you think you're ready?
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, let's start with a riddle about these 2 pretty ladies. I've heard a rumor that one of them isn't as young as she appears. She is 100 years old. But which one? It's the lady on the right. Take a look at her reflection in the mirror. It shows her true posture and true age. Callie is spending her vacation in the Maldives. She can choose one of these 3 bungalows, but unfortunately, each road has some danger. The first road is on fire. The second road is swarming with venomous snakes. And toxic waste is spilled all over the third road. Which way should Callie choose? She should choose the first road. Callie can put out the fire with seawater. There's plenty around. Look, there are 2 couples. Both of them seem pretty ordinary, but that's just at first sight. In fact, one of them is from another world. Which one? Of course, it's the couple on the left. Take a look at this guy's feet. They don't match his reflection. In a parallel universe, it was only allowed to have fun and eat candy. No one ever worked or studied. Mrs. Relum came back home after a long and fun day at a club. Her 3 daughters were supposed to have fun too. She asked them what they had been doing. Hannah said, "I've been watching Netflix all day." Elle said, "I went to a party." Ava said, "I had lunch with a bunch of girls." Still, Mrs. Relum could tell that one of her daughters lied and actually spent all day studying. Who was it? It was Hannah. Look, there's an opened physics textbook and some notes under her bed. Ava had a sleepover with her friends, so no wonder that her room is a complete mess. Now she's going camping with her friends. She needs her boots, a flashlight, and a raincoat. Can you help her find them in the room? Yes, here they are. Great job! After Ava returns from her camping trip, she'll need to go to her art class. She needs her brushes, her paints, and a canvas. Can you help her find them? Here, here, and here. Did you manage to locate all of them? Elle is getting ready for a sleepover and can't find some things in her messy room too. She needs her pajamas, a laptop, and a Bluetooth speaker. Can you help her find them? Here they are. Did you find them all? Now Elle is getting ready to go to a club with some friends. She needs her dress, a makeup kit, and her wallet. Where are they? They're all right here. Okay, now I'll show you some photos. In each photo, there are hidden numbers from 1 to 9, except for 1. Your task is to find all numbers and identify which one is missing.
Yeah.
Here is the first one. Which number from 1 to 9 isn't in the photo? Correct. There is no number 3. Okay, now something a bit harder. A new photo, but the task is the same. Which number is missing? Now, there's no number 7. The next one, here it is. What do you say? This time, it's 9 that's missing. The task is getting harder, and the numbers aren't so easy to find anymore. But I believe you can do it, so go ahead. What do you say this time? There is no number 5. That's right. Okay, the last one. Concentrate and give me the right answer. Yes, number 8 isn't there. Great job! Alex is enjoying the sun in the backyard, and Meadow is mowing the lawn before joining him and drinking her milkshake. Which one of them is doing something stupid? Meadow. Her milkshake is standing in direct sunlight. Firstly, it'll have melted by the time she's free. Secondly, the milk can go bad, so she's likely to get a stomachache. Thomas and Abigail are going on a date. Abigail arrived half an hour earlier and went book hunting to a nearby mall. Thomas is running late, so he's in a hurry. Who is doing something wrong? Thomas. He's driving on the left side of the road. Ryan and Neva are camping. Ryan took a boat to cross the river, and Neva went to collect some sticks to make a fire. Who is in danger? Ryan. Look, the boat has a crack in it and starts getting filled with water. Asher and Haley are enjoying their vacations. Asher is on a beach and has fallen asleep. Haley is hiking in the mountains. Who is not smart? Asher. The sun is high in the sky, so it's around midday. He has fallen asleep, so he'll get a sunburn. See? He's already pink. William and Wendy are late for work. Who is doing something wrong? William. He's driving way above the speed limit. Sam found his best friend, Wendy, unconscious in her kitchen and immediately called the police. Here's what he had told them when the police arrived. She had been out of the city for a work trip and had just returned home. I was walking past her house with my dog and saw that the light was on. I peeked through the window and saw her lying here in the kitchen. So I entered the house. I had the key. Sam was taken to the police station as a suspect. Why? Sam said that he had been walking with his dog, but then, where is the animal? Aurora was spending her summer in the countryside. She loved taking long trips to the local forest alone. During one of her walks, she came across a huge mansion. It was obvious that no one lived there, so she entered it. It was dusty inside, but very beautiful, so she took some pictures and left. When Aurora came back home, she scrolled through her photos to pick the best of them to post on her social media. When she saw one of the photos, she got chills. Take a good look at the photo. Can you see what scared her so much? Aurora noticed a ghost right here. So the mansion is haunted. Aurora looked through her other photos and saw more ghosts. But how many? Help her count them. Here's the next photo. How many ghosts can you find? One, 2, and 3. There are 3 ghosts in this one. The next picture. Do you see any ghosts? There are just 2 ghosts here, but they are very well hidden. Have you found both? In the last photo, how many ghosts can you find? Look, there are 4 of them here. Mr. Johnson got in a car accident and spent a month in the hospital. He had amnesia and forgot some things. He didn't have any family. A month later, he finally returned home. He found his street, but then he realized he didn't remember which of the 2 houses was actually his house. Can you guess which house belongs to him? The light is on in this house, so someone must live there. As you remember, Mr. Johnson lives alone, so his house must be the other one, with dark windows. Mrs. Brown is a landlord of an apartment building with a no-pet policy. Not even fish are allowed. One night, she heard a dog barking somewhere on the floor above hers. The next day, she inspected 2 apartments. In which apartment does the dog live? It must be this one. Even though there's no dog in sight, the carpet is covered in dog hairs. Robert found a gold lamp in his mother's attic. He rubbed the lamp and a genie came out of it. The genie said he would grant Robert one wish and asked what it would be. Robert went downstairs to consult with his family. His wife wanted to have children. His father wanted to be rich. And his mother wanted to have perfect eyesight again. Interestingly, even though the genie granted Robert just one wish, all of the man's family members got what they wanted. What did Robert wish for? He wished for his mother to clearly see her granddaughter swinging on a swing made of gold. Smart, huh? Annie was locked inside a room with 4 doors. She could see that there were different kinds of dangerous creatures hidden behind each door. Behind the first door, there was a vampire. Behind the second, there was a zombie. Behind the third door, there was a mummy. And behind the last door, there was a werewolf. One of the doors was supposed to open in 1 minute, but Annie didn't know which one it would be. She had 3 different items she could use to protect herself: an axe, a torch, and an aspen stake. She needed to choose one that would help her fight any of the monsters. Which one should she choose? Her best option is the torch. Its fire can scare off any of the creatures and protect Annie. Dr. O'Brien invented a time machine and traveled all the way back to prehistoric times. Take a look at this picture and see if you can spot Dr. O'Brien amongst other prehistoric people carrying out their activities. That's easy. It's the guy with the flashlight. He must have taken it with him when he time traveled. Sarah was window shopping at her town's local mall when she saw her husband Tom inside one of the clothing stores. She got confused because he was supposed to be at work, so she went inside to confront him. "What are you doing here?" she asked him angrily. Tom said he was picking out an outfit for his company's end-of-the-year party. Sarah immediately shouted that he was a liar and that he was cheating on her. How did Sarah know? Look at the fitting room. Sarah saw a woman hiding behind the curtains. And also, look, Tom has a lipstick stain on his polo shirt. There were 3 thefts at a local supermarket. One in February, one in May, and one in July. Thankfully, the security camera recorded the footage of all 3 days. The store manager called Detective Moore to solve the crime. The detective noticed one detail that helped him crack this mystery. Take a look at the images Detective Moore saw. Can you also tell who the thief is? In all 3 videos, there is a pregnant lady. In the video from February, she looks about 7 months pregnant, but in the other 2 videos from May and July, her belly looks exactly the same. This means that she is the thief. She must have been faking the pregnancy all along. Beth and Mary sent selfies to their boyfriends, saying they were enjoying some alone time in the park. Take a good look at both selfies and guess which girl is cheating on her partner. In the first picture, we can see Mary treating herself to a lovely picnic by the lake. But hey, if she's alone, what's that pair of men's shoes doing in the corner of the photo? Mason came home one day and told Julia that he was going to be transferred to a research lab in Antarctica. He was beyond happy to get this job offer, so the couple decided to try a long-distance relationship. Julia asked Mason to send her as many pictures as he could, and that's what he did. After seeing the pictures, Julia sent him a text saying, "We're over, Mason. I know everything now." Take a look at the pictures Mason sent Julia. How did she know he was cheating on her? The last picture Mason sent has some palm trees peeking out. But there are no palm trees in Antarctica. Plus, look at those polar bear photos. Polar bears don't live in Antarctica. Mason must have photoshopped the pictures and has been lying about where he is all along. Oh, in the picture in the middle, there's a lipstick stain on Mason's shirt. Alice was at a crowded concert. Suddenly, she felt somebody reaching into her bag and pulling out her wallet, which only had credit cards inside. She couldn't see who the person was, but after checking the footage from the surveillance cameras, security guards were able to narrow it down to 3 suspects. Johnny said he had been waiting in line to use the toilet for hours and didn't have anything to do with the theft. Jenny said she was super rich and didn't need other people's cards to pay for things. Penny said she'd been focused on singing along with the band to notice what had happened. The security guards immediately understood who the thief was. Can you figure it out too? Well, nobody told Jenny that the wallet only had credit cards, but somehow she still knew it. She must have stolen it. It's finals week at Sunshine High, and the students are nervous. On the day of the physics exam, the head teacher enters each classroom to personally make sure there are no cheaters around. As soon as he enters classroom 2B, he spots a student cheating and suspends them immediately. Take a look at the classroom. Can you tell who is cheating? It's that guy with his legs crossed. He wrote the answers on his calf and is now cheating to pass the exam. Jack is in a cold cell. There's only bare ground beneath his feet. In the cell, there is one window, but it's located too high. There are no stairs and no chairs, just a shovel. He needs to get out of there as quickly as possible. He can't dig a tunnel and go deep underground since the walls are really thick. Jack would get exhausted long before completing the tunnel to freedom. Can you figure out an easier way to get out of the cell? He needs to dig a large hole in the ground and use the dirt to make a small hill. He can then climb it and reach the window. In a kingdom far, far away, an old lonesome king lived. The king was worried because he had no heirs to his throne. One day he came up with an idea. He decided to give each child in his kingdom a seed. He promised that the child who would grow the most beautiful plant would become his heir. 3 months later, thousands of children came to the palace. All of them had amazingly tall and green plants in their hands, but one girl had a pot that was empty. However, she was the one that the king chose to be the future queen. What made him do so? It turned out that the king had given children fake seeds, and the girl turned out to be the only honest child. Take a look at these images and try to guess what's wrong. Duh! In the last picture, the woman is trying to eat soup with a fork.
Louis is a famous fashion designer. He's visiting a fair and 3 wholesalers offer him their fabrics. Lauren says,
My entire collection is made of natural materials. Just feel it.
Olaf says, I have the best prices, sir. You'll never find such a good deal elsewhere. And Renata says,
Since you've been my favorite client for many years, I'll offer you a big discount this time.
Oh, really?
who's lying? Olaf, look, Lauren also has the same floral fabric, but her price is twice lower. Louis is meeting his makeup artist Karen and 3 models that he selected for his upcoming show, Sally, Kelly, and Shelley.
Hello.
One of these 3 models is broke. Can you guess who? Sally's phone doesn't look chic, but it doesn't prove anything. Maybe she has just crashed it and didn't have time to pay for repairs. Meanwhile, Shelley is grabbing lipstick from Karen's bag, but maybe her intention is just to freshen her makeup. But Kelly is the only one who didn't cut off the price tag on her fancy jeans. Probably to be able to return them to the store. Louis has been working hard in his studio all morning. He had just finished the last dress for his future show. Masterpiece, I'm a genius! Louis leaves it in a storage room and goes outdoors to talk on the phone. 20 minutes later, he returns and barely faints.
Oh my God!
Someone had torn his masterpiece. Louis questions 3 suspects. Jerry, the office manager, says,
I didn't touch the dress. I was repairing our coffee machine.
Karen, the makeup artist, says,
I entered the storage room 30 minutes ago to take pictures of this dress and create matching makeup. It was fine.
And Sandra, the cleaning lady, says,
I entered the storage room with a vacuum cleaner 5 minutes ago. The dress looked torn, but I thought it was your fancy design.
Who's lying? Karen, 30 minutes ago, the dress wasn't finished yet, so she couldn't see it in the storage room. Louis and his wife, Maya, come to the big city for Fashion Week. They check in at the hotel, and Louis goes to the shower. Meanwhile, Maya goes outdoors to buy some coffee. Soon, Louis gets a call from an unknown number. A stranger says that he has kidnapped Maya and asks for a ransom. You have to leave the money in a phone booth on 62nd Street. If you call the police, you'll never see Maya again. Louis spent a long day looking for 62nd Street, but he couldn't find it. Finally, he gets a taxi. The driver says that this street has another name. Can you guess the real name of the street? Minute Street, because this number is pronounced 60 seconds, which is literally a minute. Louis brings the money to the phone booth. There, he meets a masked criminal who doesn't say a word. He just gestures to Louis to follow him. But Louis says, "Come on, Maya, it's just a prank." How did he know? Take a look at Louis' hand. He's wearing a pretty extravagant wedding ring. And the pranker is wearing the same ring, as well as Maya's manicure. The next morning, Louis and Maya are driving to Fashion Week together and get stuck in a traffic jam. They see these two guys on the road. Can you figure out which one is more dangerous? The man on the right. He's not looking at the road. Finally, the guys arrive at the Fashion Week. There's a huge crowd around the podium. Can you see a policeman? He's over here. They go backstage and it's crowded as well, but one of these models is not from Earth. Can you guess who? This lady who's eating hairstyling foam is definitely a stranger on this planet. Louis' fashion show begins, but some of his models lose their balance and fall. Louis investigates this accident afterwards and finds out that someone had scattered pearl beads on the podium on purpose. He interrogates 3 suspects. His fashion rival, Bianca, says,
Before the show, I was taking selfies with influencers. I have evidence. See?
Famous blogger Hannah says, "Come on, Louis, their failure went viral, so you should be grateful." And the guard, Xavier, says, "Random people are not allowed to enter, so it was one of the guests." After hearing what they had to say, Louis knows for sure who's guilty. What about you? It was Bianca. Take a look at her selfies with influencers. She's wearing 3 strands of pearls, but now she only has 2. After the show, Louis gets an invitation to a fancy party in a secret nightclub. He's never been there before, so he's wandering around for a while and finds 2 doors. There's a guard standing by each door. One of them leads to the nightclub, and the second one to a creepy basement full of traps. One guard always lies, and the other one always tells the truth. Louis can only ask one yes or no question to one of the guards. What question should he ask? Here's the right question. Would the other guard say that this door leads into a trap? If he says yes, then it leads to the club. The next morning, Louis enters his design studio and sees a huge bouquet of roses at his desk. The card says, "From a secret admirer." There are only 3 people in the studio today: Maya, Jerry, and Melissa. One of them is the secret admirer. Can you guess who? Jerry. There are some rose petals under his desk. Louis throws a Halloween party at his house, but right before the event, he sees that someone has broken his favorite antique vase. Louis questions everyone in the house. Louis's wife, Maya, says,
I don't know what happened. I was making a costume.
The chef says, I've just arrived with my ingredients to cook candies for trick-or-treaters. Louis's assistant says,
I was decorating the house for the party.
and his sister says,
I went trick-or-treating and already collected a bunch of candies.
who's lying? The chef. It doesn't look like he's making candies. After the party, Maya tells Louis,
I have a riddle for you. If you crack it,
I'll wash all the dishes.
Louis agrees.
It's fun to do, but you hate knowing your parents do it too.
What is it? The correct answer is Facebook. The next day, Louis wakes up inspired. He arrives at his studio to make some sketches and freaks out. Can you find 5 weird things about this place? There's a ghost reflected in this mirror. This mannequin is moving and winking. All the windows are closed, but the curtains are flowing. This lamp doesn't have any wires, it's just floating in the air. And the hat is decorated with rotten fish. Suddenly, Louis hears a weird sound. It's coming from the basement. He walks down there, but it's empty. Suddenly, the door slams shut. To escape, Louis needs to choose one of these 3 doors. The first path is filled with toxic gas. The second path has a bunch of bare wires, and there's a fire-breathing dragon behind the third door. Can you help Louis choose the right door? Louis should choose the second door. The floor is dry, and he can easily crawl under the wires. Louis walks outside and moves to the parking lot. Finally, Louis finds his car. Can you see anything weird here? The reflection in this window doesn't match reality. Louis opens a new fashionable boutique and throws a party, but one of his guests is a thief. Can you spot who exactly? This guy. He's wearing 2 watches. There are many glamorous guests at the boutique opening. Take a look at these 3 couples. One of them will divorce soon. Can you guess who? This one, she doesn't even want to touch him. At the party, one of the ladies approaches Louis and says,
excuse me, have you seen my husband?
one of these 3 guys is her husband. Can you guess who? It's this guy. He's wearing red trousers, and this lady is holding his red jacket. Margot is an aspiring influencer from New York who has 2,000 followers. The Paris Fashion Week starts next week, and she really wants to get photographed there to help her gain more. But not surprisingly, she's not invited. So, when an extremely popular influencer offers tickets to one of his followers, she immediately jumps at the opportunity. However, she has to answer this riddle correctly to be able to win the ticket. You go in through 1 hole, you come out through 3 holes. Once you're inside, you're ready to go outside. But once you're outside, you're still inside. What is it? The answer is a t-shirt. Margot first has to buy her plane ticket to Paris to be able to actually attend the fashion show. So, she heads to a travel agency to book it. Since the flight is soon, the plane tickets are so expensive. The travel agent says,
I will give you a discount if you can answer my riddle correctly. 2 siblings with laces always on the floor. Sometimes they're running, and sometimes they do more. What are they?
It's sneakers. Margot must first find herself a chic gown to get ready for the event. So, she heads to the famous shopping avenue. 3 clothing stores grab her attention. Take a look at the displays of each of them. Which one should she pick? Let's take a look at the first store's display. The dresses are super fashionable, but do you see the price tag? It says that this dress is $3,000. That's way too expensive. As for the second store, the sale sign on the window is tempting. But did you notice the mice traps placed on the ground next to the mannequins? That can only mean this store is infested with rodents. And the clothes in there are probably ruined. So she should pick the third store. Margot walks inside and checks out the dresses. She likes 3 of them, but she can't make up her mind on which one to actually get. Can you help her out? Take a closer look at the rhinestones on the neckline of the first dress. One of them seems to have fallen off. It wouldn't look good on her reputation to wear this. And did you notice that the skirt of the third dress is slightly ripped? No one there will see that as a fashion statement. So she should buy the first one. Margot is going to fly in the next morning, so she needs to prepare her suitcase for the trip. However, it seems like she forgot to put 2 important items in it. Can you tell what they are? Do you see the sticky note on the vanity mirror inside her room? Her travel items list is written on it. Most of these items on the list are already placed in her suitcase, but she still needs to pack her shoes and her makeup bag. Margot looks around the room, but she can't find both of these items. Can you spot where they are? Her shoes are under her bed, and her makeup bag is behind the pillows on the couch. The next morning, Margot arrives at the airport to catch her flight. When she checks the departures board to figure out which gate to walk to, she sees that there are 3 different Paris flights departing all at the same time from different gates. Can you tell which gate number belongs to her flight? Did you notice the clue in the video that will help you figure this out? Let's rewind the video back to when Margot went to the travel agency. Do you see the sign that says, "We work with La Baguette Airlines"? So, Margot's ticket is from the same airline. And let's take a look at the departures board again. There's only one Paris flight that belongs to La Baguette Airlines, and it will be departing from gate number 5. During the flight attendant starts serving meals to the passengers. However, Margot realizes that she forgot to book the burger option in advance, so she's served the vegetable stir-fry instead. Seeing her so disappointed, the passenger next to her offers to trade his burger with her stir-fry if only she can answer his riddle. Throw it off the highest building and it will not break. Put it in the ocean and it will. What is it? The answer is a tissue. After a tiring flight, Margot arrives in Paris and finds her hotel. The hotel manager comes next to her and informs her that his employee gave the room she booked to someone else by mistake. However, to make it up to her, he takes her to 3 different rooms and says she can choose the one she wants to stay in. Which one should that be? Take a look at the pillowcases inside the first room. They have dirty brown spots on them. Yikes, that's a pass. And take a look at the temperature on the wall of the third room. It's kinda higher than normal room temperature. Seems like the air conditioner there is not working, so she should pick the second room. It's finally the day of the fashion show. But oh no, Margot forgot to bring her hair tools. So she urgently needs to find a hairstylist. She searches for the closest ones to her hotel from her phone and finds 3 hair salons near the area. Which one should she pick? Do you see the hairstylist working in the first hair salon? Her hair looks really messy, so she probably won't be able to give Margot the hairstyle she wants. The third hair salon looks really clean, but did you notice the 2-star rating it had when Margot Googled it? So it wouldn't be the safest option as well. Then, Margot should choose the second hair salon. After her hair is done, Margot heads to the venue to meet the popular influencer and get her ticket from him. Then, the popular influencer says that one of the models is a really close friend of his, so he can also take her backstage to have lunch with them if she wants. Margot excitedly accepts his offer. When she walks in, she sees that 3 people are sitting around the dining table. However, one of those is not actually a real model. Can you tell who? It's the girl in the middle. Did you notice that her bag is filled with food? The real models there don't need to save food for later. The fashion show begins, and Margot starts checking out the designer's new collection. However, when 3 models are walking the runway at the same time, she realizes that a scandal is right around the corner. Why is that? Take a closer look at each of the designs the models are wearing. Although this is a Dolce & Gabbana show, one of the dresses belongs to a different designer. The belt on it says Alexander McKing. After the scandalous fashion show ends, the popular influencer invites Margot to the after party and gives her the time and address details. Margot arrives at the club, but a bodyguard stops her. He says only those with the password can enter. When Margot tells him that she doesn't know the password, but was invited by the popular influencer, the bodyguard decides to give her a hint. 1 strand dangles, 2 strands twist, 3 or more can fashion this. Can you tell me what this is? It's braids. Margot enters the club and finds the popular influencer. He says, "Here you are. I was just looking at the posts of these 2 new influencers," and shows her his phone. "One of these is a millionaire, but the other one is just pretending to be rich. Yet, I can't figure out who is who. Can't you help me out?" Take a closer look at the second photo, and you can see a blurry watermark in the background. That means the second influencer photoshopped herself into a stock picture. So, she's the fake one. A high-speed express train is leaving in 15 minutes. Security guards are scanning everyone's bags and find one of these 3 bags very suspicious. Can you guess which one? It's the second luggage. This lady has a heavy book among her things, and the title, Dictionary, has the wrong spelling. Maybe it's just a cover to hide something suspicious? The train departs. Unfortunately, this area is full of rocks, so the road is winding a lot. Only one of these routes will lead the train to the final destination. Can you guess which one? Only the third route is correct. Susan is a first-class passenger. She orders a cup of tea. The waiter brings her what she asked for. Suddenly, Susan sees a fly in her cup and gets terrified. The waiter takes her cup and goes to the kitchen. Then, he returns with a fresh cup of tea. But Susan yells,
You brought me the same cup of tea! Gross!
How did she know? Susan already had added sugar. The tea was sweet when the waiter brought it back. Susan gets bored and takes a walk around the train. She enters a rail car with 3 passengers only, Xavier, Gerald, and Peter. One of them can't wait to meet his 2 daughters when the train arrives at the final destination. He promised to take them to the beach. Can you tell which guy it is? It's Gerald. He has 3 bucket hats on top of his suitcase. These 2 cute bucket hats still have price tags, so he probably bought them for his daughters as a gift. The train has arrived. Gerald rents a car to go to the mansion in the forest where his family lives. Unfortunately, the road is surrounded by multiple possessed wild animals. Suddenly, a black cat jumps on the windshield and Gerald crashes into a tree. He has to leave the car and walk to the mansion on his feet. Soon, Gerald finds himself at a crossroad. Can you guess which route is more or less safe? A, B, or C? All 3 routes have animal footprints. The bushes on the first route are moving even though it's not windy. This means that some animals are hiding behind them. And there's a pair of eyes shining in the dark on the third route. So Gerald will have to move quickly through the second route. It begins to rain heavily. Gerald finds a fancy mansion along the way. The owner invites him inside the house to hide from the rain and grab some snacks. Gerald agrees and finds himself at a glamorous party. There are 3 models eating in the buffet. One of them is broke. Can you guess who? The second lady. Take a look at her bag. She hides some food for later. Gerald walks around the mansion and sees 2 roommates. One of them is a thief. Can you guess who? It's not the first maid. There's an open safe with diamonds and cash in front of her, but she doesn't do anything. Meanwhile, the second lady has already hidden a diamond in her bucket, so she's the thief. Gerald eats a snack and falls asleep. He wakes up in an old basement. The mansion owner locked him up. Gerald finds a sheet of paper on the floor. It says, "I'll give you a chance to get out of here. The key to the door is inside this closed bag. Try to get it." Gerald tries to rip up the bag, but the fabric is too tough. He tries to tear it using his teeth, but he almost breaks a tooth. How can Gerald get the key? He should break a jar and use a fragment of glass to cut the bag and get the key. Gerald opens the door and enters a storage room. There are 3 doors leading to freedom. A forest full of hungry predatory animals is hiding behind the first door. The second route is filled with toxic gas that's impossible to stand for even a second. And there's a fire behind the third door. Which way is more or less safe? Gerald should choose the third door. There are bottles of water in the room, and the fire is rather small. Gerald can easily put it out. Finally, Gerald is outdoors. But there are 3 hidden dangers in this garden. Can you find them? There's a crocodile in these rose bushes. A laser beam alarm system is on. And a scorpion is hiding in a tree. Gerald runs away through the forest, but something's wrong with this place. Can you spot 3 odd details? Take a look at this spruce. Lemons don't grow on this type of tree. This beehive is inhabited by butterflies. Also, there are 2 moons in the sky. Gerald checks into the local motel to get some rest. He leaves his golden watch on the bed and goes to buy some coffee. In an hour, he returns to the room and sees that someone had stolen the watch. Gerald interrogates 3 suspects. The maid says,
I only entered your room once today to clean it before check-in. I have a master key, but it's always with me in my pocket.
The woodworker says, I entered your room an hour ago to fix a creaky bed. Everything's fine now. And Gerald's neighbor says,
I was feeling sick, that's why I went to bed earlier, so I didn't hear anything weird.
Who stole Gerald's watch? Nobody. The golden watch fell under the bed. See? The next morning, Gerald goes to the motel's lobby to check out. He finds the manager, Lauren, lying unconscious on the floor. Gerald calls the police. They figure out that someone has put Lauren to sleep using an unknown substance and took all the cash. The police officer questioned 3 people who last saw Lauren conscious and healthy: Rose, Violet, and Lily. After check, Gerald left a note that can help him remember the code. Can you figure out the code? That would be too easy to use the given numbers as they are. To crack this mystery, we should mind the numbers of letters in each given number. So, the correct code is 5364. Finally, Gerald can keep his promise and takes his daughters to the beach. He also takes some food for a picnic. Can you guess the name of this food by emojis? Sandwich. Gerald and his wife Anna have a lot in common: daughters, careers, and a big house. They do everything together. One day, Anna comes home really late. She's tired but happy. Gerald gets jealous and yells at her. Anna flames out too. I was working all evening. Gerald says, Sorry, Anna, I don't believe you. It looks like you're dating someone else. Anna refuses to talk and goes to bed alone. Meanwhile, Gerald waits for Anna to fall asleep and checks her purse. He finds nail polish, a wallet, a pack of gum, lipstick, and some keys. Now Gerald is completely sure Anna was seeing someone else. How did he know? The keys are definitely not from their house. The next morning, Gerald receives an email from his boss. Can you guess the meaning of this message? It means, great job, you got it. This type of code is called a Caesar box, because Julius Caesar was known as the first one to write codes this way. To decipher the message, simply divide the code into 4 groups of 4. Then rearrange them vertically. Hey, Brightsiders! How about giving your sharp mind a shake? Then put on your detective hat and listen attentively. One day, Johnson woke up and immediately felt that something was wrong. While sleeping, he somehow turned into a metal robot. Johnson looked around. The place where he woke up seemed to be a dungeon, dark, damp, and very cold. There were 3 corridors leading out of that place. The first passage had a treacherous floor. Some of its panels could collapse, sending people into an abyss. Massive boulders fell from the ceiling of the second corridor every 30 seconds. And the third passage was filled with giant cacti, whose thorns were covered in poison. Which corridor is the safest? Johnson picked the third corridor. Thorns would do no harm to his now metal body, even the ones covered in poison. Mila was locked in a jail cell. It was rather small, with a dirt floor and a small window high above the ground. The only thing she saw was a tiny shovel in the corner. In a couple of hours, Mila managed to break free from the cell. How did she do it? She dug a hole in the floor. Then she made a pile using the soil, climbed on top of it, and escaped through the window. A student failed an important exam, but the professor decided to give him another chance. She said, "If you crack my riddle, I'll let you take the exam again. 2 plus 2 is the same as 2 times 2. Find a set of 3 whole numbers whose sum will be the same as their total when multiplied." The student didn't need much time to figure out the answer. These numbers are 1, 2, and 3. One guy decided to become a scuba diver, but during his first dive, he got dazed and disoriented. He couldn't figure out which way he should swim to get to the surface. Soon, he also noticed he was running out of air. He started panicking. Can you help the poor guy find his way to the surface? He should swim in the directions where bubbles go. Yay! You've saved him. Great job! A unique diamond was on exhibition in a famous museum. It was guarded at all times, and only a small group of 10 people were allowed to enter the room. After one of such groups had left, an alarm went off. The guards ran into the room and found a young man there. When they searched him, they found nothing extraordinary. Just several bills, a lighter, a bottle of soda, a camera, and a smartphone. The guards had to let the man go, but the next morning, it was announced that the diamond had been stolen. How did it happen? The man replaced the real diamond with a fake one and hid the real treasure in his bottle of soda. Emma came to the office on Monday and found out that someone had deleted an important report from her computer. She knew that in the company there were 3 people who would be happy if she lost her job. She decided to question the suspects. Laura, Emma's colleague, said, "I've just arrived. The weather is awful, such a downpour." Thomas, the accountant, answered,
I was out buying coffee and have just returned.
And Eliza, a new employee, said,
I had a meeting with a client in a cafe. I've just come back to the office.
Who has anything to do with Emma's report? Eliza. Pay attention to the suspect's feet. Thomas and Laura's shoes are wet. They got caught in the rain. But Eliza's high heels are perfectly dry. She must have lied about going out to meet with a client. You wake up and find yourself trapped in a room. There's only a mattress to sleep on, some food, a small knife, a water dispenser, and a large water bottle. It's enough for you to survive for 2 days. There are 3 doors in the room. The corridor behind the first one is filled with toxic gas. Behind the second door, the hall is swarming with venomous snakes. And if you opt for the third door, you'll find yourself in a giant aquarium with hungry sharks. Which door should you choose? Empty the water dispenser and cut its top part with the help of the knife. Then put it over your head so that no air can get inside. Then leave fast enough through the first door. Imagine finding yourself in a room with 4 doors and a deep pit in the middle. Behind the first door, there's a ferocious tiger. The space behind the second door is filled with bubbling lava. The third door prevents poisonous gas from leaking into the room. And the fourth door leads to a tiny storage room with no windows. You have to decide fast how to get out of this trap. You should open the first door. When the tiger jumps at you, you should step aside. The animal will fall into the pit, and you will be able to escape through the first room. Look at poor Amanda. She dozed off during a lecture, and when she woke up, she discovered someone had ruined her hair. Can you figure out who did it? The culprit is the guy on the right. Look, there are scissors sticking out of his pocket. Mickey woke up in a small room without windows. She didn't know how she got there. The girl noticed a door with a combination lock on it. And on the floor next to her, there was a note. Spelled forward were those rodents that terrify you. But what you need is spelled backward. You can't touch it, but you see it at night. What is the password? The rodents the note speaks about are rats. Then the word Mickey needs is star. Now, this riddle might seem kinda cruel, but try not to take it seriously and think outside the box. So, what happens to a person whose whole left side gets cut off? They're all right now. Heh, told you it wasn't too bad. Jack reached the final of a popular game show. Now, if he wanted to get his prize, he had to pass the last challenge. He entered a large hall with 3 cardboard boxes in the center. One of them had white balls inside. The second contained black balls, and the third was filled with black and white balls. The boxes were sealed and labeled, but all the labels were wrong. Jack was allowed to open one box, pick a ball, check its color, and put the ball back into the box. How many times would the man have to repeat this action to label all the boxes correctly? Jack managed to do it after picking just one ball. He chose the box labeled BW, which stood for black and white. Since all labels were wrong, it could be either BB or WW. He pulled out a black ball, so the box was actually BB. Then, logically, Jack figured out the rest of the boxes. Now, let's check how attentive you are. 3 guys were playing hide and seek. One of them hid in the kitchen. Can you help his friends find him? Yep, I don't know how he did it, but he managed to squeeze into the oven. Now, I've got a tricky but fun task for you. I'll be showing you different emoji combinations, and you'll need to figure out what Disney movies they stand for. Let's start with these emojis. What movie is hidden here? It's 101 Dalmatians. The next one for you. That's The Little Mermaid. How about this very popular one? I believe these days there's no person who doesn't know about Frozen. And the last one for you. I admit this one might have been a bit tough. Have you recognized WALL-E? Amy is meeting her brother Ezra at a nightclub. Can you guess which one of these three guys is her brother? The first guy is wearing flowers just like Amy, but it doesn't prove anything. The third guy is wearing blue hair, but we still can see his blonde roots. Meanwhile, the second guy has a mole on his arm, and Amy has a similar feature. So he's the real Ezra. Today is Friday. Ezra is going on vacation in 73 days. Can you guess which day of the week it will be? Monday. 73 days is 10 weeks and 3 days. Friday plus 3 days is Monday. At the party, Ezra tells Amy 4 facts about himself. I spent $700 on my new sneakers. I graduated from college with honors. I don't have any piercings. My favorite color is purple. But only 3 facts are true. Can you guess which one is false? Ezra does have a piercing. Take a look at his eyebrow. Ezra goes outdoors to get some fresh air after dancing. One of these 4 shadows on the wall belongs to him. Can you spot which one? Only the 3rd shadow matches him perfectly. Ezra and Amy's granny lives in a country house. They want to surprise her and come with an unexpected visit. Granny wakes up at 7 a.m. with a knock on her door. Ezra and Amy yell to let her know that they're here for breakfast. Granny is confused, but quickly thinks of what food she has. She has milk, jam, butter, bread, and coffee. What will she open first? The door for Ezra and Amy. Ezra and Amy love nature. That's why they go for a walk in the woods after breakfast. On the way, they argue about who can collect a more beautiful flower bouquet. Finally, Amy and Ezra decide to separate, to pick the flowers and then bring them home to ask Granny which bouquet is the winner. On the way home, Ezra gets a rash all over his face. Can you find the toxic flowers in these 2 bouquets? Only Ezra suffered, so we need to look for the toxic flower in his bouquet. This is the flower we're looking for because it's the only flower that's absent from Amy's bouquet. Amy wants to help Ezra meet his true love. She takes him to a wedding fashion show and introduces him to 3 models. Each lady tells a couple of words about herself. Lauren says, "I'll work to earn $1 billion." Bianca says, "I have 3 sons and 3 daughters." And Monica says, "I'd like to travel all over the globe." Can you guess who Ezra will marry? Monica. Ezra is wearing a backpack with souvenirs from different countries, so he loves traveling too. Ezra's vacation begins. He arrives at the airport to fly to the Philippines. Security checks everyone's luggage and reveals one suspicious passenger. Can you guess who? There are two suspicious suitcases. This lady is bald, but she carries a big bottle of shampoo. And this guy has two left shoes from different pairs. Ezra checks in at the hostel and goes to his room. He discovers that he'd forgotten his hat at the cashier's desk. Ezra returns, but the hat isn't there. He asks 3 people nearby only one question. "Hey guys, have you seen my hat?" The manager says that he hasn't seen any hats. The guest says,
"I arrived at this hotel 30 seconds ago and faced a guy wearing a red hat just like yours. He was leaving in a rush."
and the janitor says, "We have a room of lost things. There are many hats there, but we didn't get any new ones today." Who's the thief? No one specified that Ezra had lost a red hat, but the guest knew it because he had taken it. Ezra goes parachuting. He's about to land in a few seconds. There are 4 possible spots to touch down. A deep well full of crocodiles that a human would never manage to climb out of. A rainforest with venomous snakes and wild animals. A mountain with no water sources. And a huge tornado in the middle of a field. Which place is more or less safe for landing? The third one. Take a look at the background. There's a village near this rock. Yeesh, Ezra lands badly and wakes up in the hospital. The doctor says that he had a slight concussion and should stay for 1 day. Ezra leaves the ward and goes to the vending machine to buy some chocolate. He returns and finds out that someone had stolen his phone. He questions 3 witnesses. The doctor says, "I had an urgent surgery, so I didn't enter your ward." The nurse says, "I was having a lunch break outdoors." And Mike, another patient, says, "It was the nurse. I pretended to be sleeping so she didn't know that I was watching her." Who's suspicious? Mike. Take a look at the cast on his arm. It was on the right arm when Ezra was leaving, and now it's on the left. The local police brought a famous criminal to the hospital for urgent surgery, but leaving him here alone is too dangerous. That's why 2 policemen had to stay to guard him 24/7. Day by day, the criminal gets better, and then, one sunny day after lunch, he disappears from his hospital bed. Detectives immediately begin investigating his escape. They find out that the criminal had an accomplice who pretended to be one of the doctors. Detectives interrogate 3 suspects. The surgeon says, "I'm the most honest person in the hospital. I would never commit a crime." The nurse says, "I didn't even see the criminal. I wasn't allowed to enter his room." And the chief physician replies, "I don't remember anything. At the time of the escape, I was on night duty and very tired." Who's lying? It's the chief physician. He said it was his night duty, but the criminal escaped in the afternoon. Ezra takes the local public bus to get to a mountainous region. The driver hits the road. He is responsible for both driving and collecting the tickets. When the bus reaches the bridge, the driver starts collecting tickets from all the passengers, but the bus didn't topple from the bridge. Can you guess how that's possible? Easy. The driver had parked the bus before beginning to collect the tickets. The bus reaches its stop. All the passengers leave, except for one guy who's still sleeping. The driver walks up to him, but the man doesn't wake up. He calls an ambulance. The doctor arrives immediately and spots 3 buses in front of him. Can you guess where he can find his patient? Passengers are entering the first bus and leaving the third bus, so the doctor should check the second bus. Ezra is a travel blogger, and the number of his followers is rising. He decides to hire a manager and post a job advertisement. Ezra starts receiving applications right away. Ezra needs your help to filter out real applicants among these 3 people. Take a look at this guy's birth date. There's no 14th month. And this application must be generated by a robot, unless this person is a time traveler. So Ezra should consider hiring the first guy. The local celebrity Gia is singing in a club tonight. Ezra comes to her concert just like many other people. After the show, Gia goes to the dressing room. A lot of people gather around it begging for a selfie with the diva. Gia's guard allows fans to enter only one by one. After a while, Gia disappears. The police figure out that someone has kidnapped her and escaped through the window. They question 3 fans. Fran says,
I'm a singer too and a huge fan of Gia.
Nicholas says, I visit all her concerts. She's my crush. One day, I'm gonna marry her. And Ezra says, I'm not guilty. I just came here to take a selfie and make my sister jealous. The police figure out who's suspicious right away. How? It's 10:54 and the clock is broken, probably because Gia had a fight with her kidnappers. And now, let's take a look at the time in the pictures. Fran was the last person to see Gia, so she's the most suspicious. Alex returns to his home office after a lunch break. He realizes that someone went through his office. Looks like my wife was trying to find something again. How did he figure it out? There's a lipstick mark on this mug. Also, she dropped a pencil on the floor. And this book on the shelf is gone. What's a ghost's favorite dessert? Ice cream. What is it like to be kissed by a vampire? It's a pain in the neck. Who did a ghost go to the party with? Nobody. What image doesn't fit here? The pink one. The rest are the colors of the rainbow. Which flower doesn't belong here? Lotus. It grows in water. Which hand do you think belongs to a millionaire? Choose one of these 4 options. If you choose A, you're brave enough to go against the tide. You are always confident and charismatic. B, you never shirk from your responsibilities and don't waste even a minute. C, you treat your life as a game and enjoy every moment. You're fearless. D, efficiency is your second name. You're a talented and motivated person who always achieves your goal. What doesn't fit here? Nose. The rest exists in pairs. On Monday afternoon, someone destroyed a baking fair at the local school. The furniture and pastries are all over the place. And all cash from the donation box is gone. The principal calls all students and staff for interrogation. One of these students is guilty. Can you guess who? The criminal has lost his watch, and this guy has a tan line where the watch used to be. Suspicious. Bobby goes on a bus trip with his classmates. On the way, he takes a brief nap. Then he wakes up and pulls out his lunchbox. Oh no! Someone took all his food! Bobby interrogates 4 suspects. Shannon says, I was watching stories on my phone. I didn't look around. Xavier says, the view is so stunning. I tried to take pictures from the window, but this stupid glass is too shiny. Bella says,
I'm on a gluten-free vegan diet. Why would I need to steal your regular lunch?
And Tim says, I think it was Bella. I saw her eating a burger last night, so she's a fake vegan. Who stole Bobby's lunch? Take a look at the pictures taken by Xavier. We can see the thief's reflection in the window. It was Shannon. Noah arrives at a ski resort in the mountains. He sees 4 people in the lobby. Each says, welcome, I'm the owner of this hotel. Nice to meet you. Only one of them tells the truth. Can you guess who? Only this guy doesn't wear a badge with the hotel logo. Therefore, he's the owner, and the others are his employees. Can you spot a fake musician? This guy, he has no strings. Stanley is a college professor. He's teaching in the class. Suddenly, a paper plane smacks his head. Stanley gets furious and asks, who did that? No one raises their hand, but Stanley figures out who's guilty right away. Can you guess too? Take a look at the color of this guy's notebook. It matches the color of the plane. He's the only one who has such a colorful notebook, so he's the one who pranked Stanley. This Sunday evening, Tina is having the most epic concert in her entire career. But she's very upset because someone stole all her costumes from the dressing room while she was in the toilet. She questions 3 suspects. Dylan, the guitar player, says, Look, Tina, I know we had some issues in the past, but I would never betray you like this. I'm not a monster. Monica, the backup singer, says, I haven't even entered the dressing room yet. I got stuck in a traffic jam because many people returned home from work. That was so annoying. And Tyler, Tina's boyfriend, says, Darling, I've been drinking coffee with friends in the lobby, and I think I saw some glitter from your costume on the floor. Who's lying? Monica. Sunday is a non-working day, so the traffic jam couldn't appear for the reason that she mentioned. Take a look at this picture. Who's the worst friend? This lady stains her friend's outfit with lipstick. Take a look at this picture. Can you spot a time traveler? He's over here. Can you guess which coffee mug will fill up first? The second mug. In fact, it's the only mug that will be filled. Peter wakes up in a dusty broom closet. Now, he needs to choose one of these 3 doors to escape. There are 5 angry wolves behind the first door. Behind the second door, there's a tank with ditch water. It's toxic and fatal for any insect. And there's a fire behind the third door. Which way should Peter choose? Peter can use this bucket and collect water from the second room to put out the fire. Nobody said that this water is toxic for humans too. And then he can leave through the third room. Steven is changing a 5-letter password on the office laptop. Now he's the only person who knows the code. Steven decides to challenge his colleague's intelligence and leaves this little clue. Can you figure out the password? It looks like a shopping list, but the number before each word shows which letter you should take away from the word. So the new code is sushi. One Saturday morning, someone robbed a mansion owned by a wealthy old lady, Mrs. Green. The police officer arrives and questions all the suspects. Her husband says, "I was taking a shower." The gardener says, "I was cutting the grass." The butler says, "I was cleaning the swimming pool." And the chef says, "But of course I was cooking dinner." Who's suspicious? The butler. It's not his responsibility to clean the pool. Rose goes hiking and gets lost in the mountains. After a while, she runs out of food and gets really hungry. Rose wanders around and finds 3 options: raspberry bush, canned beans, and a package with bananas left by some tourists. But only one of them is safe to eat. Can you help Rose choose the right food? Raspberries are too risky. There's a huge spider creeping on the branches. And this can is pierced, so the beans are probably rotten. So Rose should choose bananas. They look pretty fresh. Frank works in an open space. She leaves his workplace to have lunch. After a while, he returns and finds out that someone had crashed the screen on his laptop. Frank questions 3 of his coworkers. Jack says, "Sorry, I've been in the toilet. I shouldn't have had that tuna sandwich for lunch." Kitty says,
I've been having a conference call outside the open space.
and Lily says, "I was talking to our boss in his office." Can you guess who's guilty? Lily crashed the laptop. Take a look at her trash bin. There's a hammer inside it. Jill works as a nurse at the local hospital. One day, she comes to the room to put each of the patients on a drip. "Don't stand up until I come to change the drips." But when Jill returns, she immediately realizes that one of the patients had stood up. Can you guess who? It's this guy. The phone was in his hand when Jill entered the room for the first time. And now the very same phone is charging on the other side of the room. Therefore, he got up to plug it in. Which house belongs to a zombie? The second one. What number is missing? The first number is the sum of slices of pizza, and the second implies the amount of olives on them. So the missing number is 45. What about these dessert plates? What number is missing here? The first number represents how many different types of food are on the plate, and the second shows how many pieces are on the plate. So the missing number is 38. Hey Brightsiders, your regular brain workout is ready. Hope you've come prepared. Let's start. Patrick called the police. The man seemed to be extremely worried.
My wife Victoria took our dog for a walk in the afternoon. Several hours ago, our pooch returned alone. I don't know where Vicky is.
The police questioned the suspects, people who were often seen near Patrick's house. Mrs. Summers said she'd been watching TV all day long.
"I was busy delivering mail,"
said the mailman.
"I didn't have time to linger in this area, and I didn't see anything."
And Mr. Thomas told the police he'd been working in his home office. The detective knew at once that one of these people was lying. Who was it? It was the mailman. His sleeve is a bit torn and there's a dog bite on his arm. Plus, do you see some black fur on his pant leg? Victoria's dog probably tried to protect the woman. Peter graduated from the police academy and began to work as a trainee detective. 1 week into his new job, Peter already had the first tricky case on his hands. One of his colleagues was investigating a series of crimes connected with smuggling. She was close to solving the case, but several days ago, the woman disappeared. Peter visited the last location where his colleague had been spotted and found a note. Peter had 3 suspects: Bill, a manager at an oil company, Todd, a jeweler, and John, a car dealer. Who knows something about the disappearance of Peter's colleague? Peter managed to prove he deserved his detective badge. The guy turned the message upside down and tried to read it that way. Surprisingly, the letters made rather legible words. Bill is boss. He sells oil. Mr. White, a rich businessman, disappeared right from his bedroom. But he managed to leave a note. It read, the 1st of July, the 4th of January, the 1st of December, the 8th of February. The police questioned the people who were in the house at that time. Judy, Mr. White's wife, said,
I'm shocked. My husband was always so careful. Sadly, I don't know anything. I was away staying at my parents'.
Logan, Mr. White's secretary, told the police he'd been working on the report for his boss and hadn't left his study. And Rose, Mr. White's daughter, answered, I was having guests. We didn't leave my room. Can you help the police solve this case? The one behind Mr. White's disappearance is his wife. The 1st of July means the letter J, the 4th of January, U, the 1st of December, D, and the 8th of February, Y. Altogether, it's Judy. Julia came to have lunch in her favorite restaurant. She occupied a table near the window and put her bag on the chair next to her. Once the woman gave her order to the waiter, she went to the bathroom to wash her hands. But when she returned to her table, her bag was open and her wallet was missing.
Oh no!
The waiter told her he had noticed only one man passing by her table. He was short, with a tattoo on his neck. He seemed to go out to the terrace. Julia rushed there and saw 3 people sitting at their tables. She looked at them attentively and soon understood who had taken her wallet. Who was the thief? It's the young woman on the right. You can see a wig and some men's clothes in her bag. Plus, she's wearing a turtleneck to cover her tattoo. Jennifer was late for work again. Her boss was furious. He told the woman he'd let it slide this time if she cracked his rebus puzzle. I'm A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y, Z. This riddle was too difficult for Jennifer. She couldn't solve it and was fired. And how about you? Can you figure out the answer? That's I'm missing you. Got it? There's no letter U there. Once, a bank was robbed. The police suspected that one of the bank's security guards had helped the criminals. A police detective decided to question 3 of them. The first security guard told him he had heard someone shout and rushed there. But by the time he arrived, the criminals had already been gone. The second security guard explained he had been enjoying his cup of coffee at the time when the crime occurred. He didn't even hear anything. And the third guard said that he had run after the thieves, but he had to stop to lace his boot. Without a second thought, he crouched near an emergency exit. At that very moment, the door opened and hit him on the head. When he came to his senses, the criminals were gone. Justin immediately understood which guard was guilty. Who was it? It was the third security guard. All emergency doors open outwards for safety reasons. A math teacher told his students about Roman numerals. After that, he asked them to draw just one continuous line and turn IX into 6. The only condition was that the students were not to lift their pens from the paper until the line was finished. Mark was the first to complete this task. How did he do it? He drew the letter S in front of IX and got 6. Look at these couples. There's something seriously wrong with one of them. Which one? The couple on the right is strange. Look at the reflection in the mirror. It's all messed up. Nick called his wife Lauren from his office and promised her he would be home by 8 o'clock. That day was Lauren's 35th birthday. She had been getting ready for the party for 3 days, ordering food, sending invitations to her friends, and decorating the house. Nick came home at 8:05. He brought a cake, beautiful flowers, and an expensive bracelet. But Lauren was mad at him. Why? Lauren was sure Nick would come home at 8 p.m. in time for her birthday party, but he came home at 8:05 in the morning. Look at this picture. What's wrong here? Flowers don't bloom outside in the winter. How about this picture? Look at that bus. It's definitely a school bus. But why is it green? There are 2 mistakes in this picture. Can you find them? That lady is eating her soup with a fork. And there's a frog on that girl's plate. Yikes! Look at the picture and try to figure out what doesn't fit here. Right, it's the gas stove. All other devices run on electricity. In this picture, you see an artist and 3 women admiring his work. Can you figure out which one is his wife? It must be the woman in the middle. Have you noticed that the artist and this lady have the same blue paint stain on their clothes? And who is this doctor's wife? Okay, this lady on the right is the doctor's colleague. This lady is most likely a patient. Look at her teeth. And the woman in the middle is his wife.
Uh-oh.
Now, look at these werewolves. Which one is fake? It's the one on the left. He's wearing a costume. See that zipper? Mike came to the police station and claimed that he just had a car accident. A police officer accompanied Mike to the riverbank where the accident had happened. Mike told him that he had lost control while driving and the car had fallen into the river. Mike managed to get out of it and swim to the surface, but the car was gone. Now, he needed to write a report to his insurance company. The officer listened to Mike's story and detained him. Why? Look at Mike. His clothes are dry. But if he had gotten out of the river recently, his clothes would be damp. He's probably made up this story to get insurance for his car. Jessica arrives at an abandoned town to film a documentary. Can you count the number of vampires in this field? Nine. Jessica approaches the local mansion. Can you count the vampires around this place? Zero. We only showed you 7 ghosts. Jessica enters the mansion and meets Albus. His age today is 3 times what it will be in 3 years from now, minus 3 times what his age was 3 years ago. How old is Albus? Let's say that his current age is X. Then, the following equation will help to figure out the answer. So, Albus is only 18. Albus hosts a party and invites Jessica. The party goes well, and Jessica makes a lot of interesting videos. But suddenly, the lights turn off for 20 seconds. When the power is back again, Jessica sees that someone has stolen her expensive video camera. Albus questions 3 suspects. Casimir says,
I was eating when the lights turned off. Luckily, I managed to grab the last strawberry cupcake at this party.
Morgana says,
I didn't touch her gadgets. I was dancing with Bastian when the lights turned off.
Bastian says, I only came to this party to see Morgana. I didn't look at other women or their things. Who's lying? Casimir. There's a bunch of strawberry cupcakes on the table, so he didn't grab the last one. Jessica checks her phone and sees something really odd. Can you spot a mistake? Wi-Fi and airplane mode can't be active at the same time. Angelina, Karen, Margot, and Sandra have a musical jazz band. They arrive at the party to perform at a concert. But just before the beginning, everyone realizes that Karen had disappeared. Albus finds her locked up in the basement of his mansion.
It was dark, so I didn't notice who locked me in.
Can you guess who did that? Angelina. Her outfit was okay when they arrived, but she tore off the sequins from the dress because she got caught on the iron door when she locked Karen. Albus shows Jessica his home office and offers a game.
If you can manage to open my safe, I'll give you all the money I'm hiding inside.
Can you help Jessica figure out the code? Take a look at the dice in these 2 paintings. It's a clue. The code is 6324. Albus points at these 2 women and tells Jessica, meet my wife, Nina. Can you guess which lady is Nina? His wife is the maid. She's wearing a ring while the red-haired lady isn't. Jessica arrives back at her office, but she can't unlock the corporate computer. Someone changed the 10-letter password and left this clue. Can you figure out the new code? The clue is a rebus, so the password is accelerate. Jessica meets 3 guys online. Later, she visits their places to show how they live. Which guys should Jessica start dating? Magnus has wedding portraits all over the room, so he's married. And Leo seems to be a criminal, so she should choose Nick. Early in the morning, Jessica receives a call from her coworker, Tyler.
Jess, please come as soon as possible. I've just arrived at work. Someone robbed us. It's a huge mess. They even trashed the furniture.
Jessica comes to the office and studies the crime scene. Tyler says,
Look, they stole all the documents and expensive video cameras from this locker. But I've got the only key. That means the robber broke the lock. I bet it was one of your new employees, Jill and Dan. I think they work for another company undercover. What do you think?
Jessica replies, I doubt it. You'd better tell me why you're trying to frame those guys. Why did Jessica think that Tyler is lying? The locker was locked when she arrived. Tyler has the only key. If Jill or Dan had broken the locker, they wouldn't be able to lock it back up. Jessica was invited to an elite billiard room. She finds the entrance, but the door is locked. She needs to enter a 5-digit code. Can you help her figure out the password? Take a look at the poster on the door. It shows 4 numbered billiard balls organized in a row. These numbers are the password: 8, 15, 3, 4. Jessica is watching the news. A mysterious thief keeps on robbing people in Paris. He sneaks into hotels and steals jewelry and cash from tourists. Oh no, I'm going on a business trip to Paris tomorrow. I should be careful. The next day, Jessica lands in Paris. She arrives 3 hours before the meeting and decides to check in first. She arrives at her hotel and meets a lonely manager in the lobby. Jessica says, Room number 505, please. Of course, let me show you in, miss. Jessica immediately realizes that this guy is the thief from the news. How did she guess? It's a 3-story hotel. There can't be a room 505 in the building. Jessica met Francois online, and today they're finally meeting offline. They go out on a date in a cute Parisian restaurant. Everything's going great. Francois is a smart and handsome guy with a good sense of humor. The waiter brings the desserts. Suddenly, Jessica jumps up and runs away from the restaurant. Why did she run away? Jessica saw Francois' face in the news. He's a runaway criminal. Jessica enters the local gift shop. The owner complains, Someone stole the goods from my shop. About 10 items disappear from the shelves every week. The staff members have no idea who the thief is. Jessica offers the shop owner to investigate this case. She watches the CCTV footage and identifies who's guilty right away. What about you? Can you spot the thief? It's this lady. She put the stolen goods in her bag. Jessica goes to the local haunted house to film a documentary. She takes 3 friends with her: Louis, Madeline, and Pierre. No one ever dared to enter this house because of creepy rumors. But the guys decided to check it out and see for themselves. They enter the living room and click some Polaroids. They take a good look at the images, freak out, and run away from the mansion. Only 4 people walked inside the mansion. All 4 are standing in this picture. If they're here, who took this shot? A ghost? Jessica finds a puppy on the street and brings it to the nearest vet clinic. The puppy only had a collar with its name, but no information about its owner. After a while, 3 people arrive at the clinic. Each begins to insist that he's the only owner of this puppy. The doctor calls the police and they interview each of them. Clark says,
I was so scared. I called the animal shelters in this city, but they didn't know where Fluffy was.
Oliver says,
I was walking the dog in the park. I turned my back for just a minute and he was gone. I have no idea why he ran away.
And Sam says, Honey, I bought a new bone for you. Come over here. Who's the real owner of this puppy? Take a look at the puppy's collar. Its name is Toby, but Clark called him Fluffy. And Sam is trying to lure the puppy with a bone. So the real owner is Oliver. Jessica is visiting a speed dating event. She talks to 3 guys. Each tells her a couple of facts about himself. Pierre says, I'm an artist. I've just signed a contract to paint a wall in the local co-working space. I've never been in a serious relationship, but now I'd like to find a muse and settle down with her. Jacques says, I'm El Rato. I used to be married, but she moved abroad. And now my work is my only girlfriend. And Glenn says, I run my own restaurant. I'd like to find a soulmate to cook delicious meals for her every day. Who should Jessica choose? Pierre clearly wore a wedding ring. There's a tan line on his ring finger, so he's a liar. Take a closer look at Jacques. His nails are too sharp and his legs are very hairy. It's a full moon, so he's probably a werewolf. It's not safe to date a beast, so Jessica should choose Glenn and enjoy his cuisine. Sue's friend works at a celebrity PR agency. He informs Sue about a big party that has all the A-listers that will attend and invites her there. There will be a secret entrance code at the door, and it's the answer to this riddle. What always runs but never walks, often murmurs, never talks, has a bed but never sleeps, has a mouth but never eats. The answer is a river. James, Charles, and Harry participated in the 76th Adventure Marathon. Harry ended the race in 3rd place, James in 2nd place, and Charles in 1st place. However, right before they were given their medals, Charles got disqualified. Can you tell why? Do you see the marathon map on the board next to where the medals are? It shows that the runners have to go through some place called the Muddy Plains during their course. And you can tell from the looks on their sneakers that James and Harry have been through a muddy place, whereas Charles's sneakers look clean as new. During the Boston Marathon, Sally overtook Nicole, who was in 2nd place. Then, in what place did Sally finish the race? She finished the race in 2nd place because the riddle states that she overtook Nicole in 2nd place, which means she took over Nicole's position and became the new second-place runner. Janine was a biology teacher. At the beginning of the semester, she gave each student one seed and said that only the person who grew the most beautiful flower would get an A in her class. By the end of the semester, all students came back with beautiful flowers except Billy, who came with an empty pot, but he was the only one who got an A. Why is that? It's because the seeds Janine gave all the students were fake, so Billy was the only honest person among them. Charlie's father was a wildlife photographer, and he always wanted his son to experience how it felt to be around wild animals. So he decided to give him money that would cover all the expenses of an African safari tour. The only thing he wanted in return was for Charlie to take some photos throughout his adventure and send them to him. Charlie did that, but his father got furious and decided not to give him even a single penny anymore. Can you tell why? Take a closer look at these photos. In one of them, Charlie is wearing skis and holding ski poles in an exotic jungle. So he didn't use the money to go on an African safari tour. Instead, he went on a ski vacation and his photos are photoshopped. Ronald was going to a wedding party with his wife. Once they arrived, as Ronald was getting out of his car, he slipped and fell, hit his head, then blacked out. When he woke up a couple of hours later, he couldn't remember anything. There were two women in front of him who were both claiming to be his wife. Can you help Ronald figure out which of them is telling the truth? Remember they were going to a wedding party? That's why they were both dressed accordingly. The lady wearing sweatpants doesn't look like she was heading to a wedding. That's why Ronald's real wife must be the other one, the lady wearing a fancy dress. Leah and Andrew were getting married. After they made their vows, it was finally time to celebrate. But a jealous witch suddenly interrupted them and created two doppelgangers of Andrew to confuse Leah. Yet, the witch's trick didn't work at all, because Leah could immediately tell who the real Andrew was. How did she figure it out so fast? The first and the third Andrew's rings don't match the ring Leah is wearing, so the second Andrew is the real Andrew. A knight was riding his horse through the enchanted forest when a heavy storm began. He couldn't continue his journey like this, so he decided to find an inn to spend the night and wait for the storm to pass. However, he was out of gold coins and was not going to be able to pay. The innkeeper told him if he could answer this riddle correctly, he would let him stay there for free. What is it that walks all day on its head? It's a nail in a horseshoe. Sadie was driving to New Orleans at night when her car suddenly broke. She went out to find someone who could help, but there was only one house around. It was a spooky and weird one, but Sadie had no other choice. Once she rang the bell, 3 vampires opened the door for her. Before Sadie could even say a word, each vampire asked for her help instead, claiming that they were actually human and the other 2 real vampires were holding them prisoner. Can you help Sadie figure out who's telling the truth? Sadie is wearing glasses, so she can point it to the vampires and see which of them has a reflection on the glass surface. Cassandra was a famous beauty influencer. To celebrate her 1 million followers, she did a huge giveaway. For 3 days, she was going to share 3 different riddles with her followers, and the one who could answer all of them correctly would win a makeup box that was $1,000 worth of products. Here is the riddle for day 1. What's black when you get it, red when you use it, and gray when you're all through with it? It's charcoal. For day 2, Cassandra shared 2 almost identical looking photos with her followers. But there were actually 3 differences between them. Can you spot what they are? The lipstick she's holding in the first photo is coral, but it's fuchsia in the second photo. The hairpin in the first photo is butterfly-shaped, but in the second one, it's bird-shaped. And lastly, this nail has glitter nail polish in the first photo, but in the second, it's the same color as the others. For day 3, Cassandra asked her followers to find out her 3 favorite movies and gave these emojis as her hint. Can you tell which movies they refer to? The first one is Silence of the Lambs. The second one is Finding Nemo. And the third one is Edward Scissorhands. Alex is hanging out in his favorite space cafe when suddenly space monsters attack his planet, and all the doors and windows of the place get sealed shut as part of the emergency protocol. However, there's actually one way to escape the place safely before the space monsters break the barriers. Can you tell how? Do you see the thing that looks like a fire alarm pull station on the wall? Well, it's not really what you think. The writing on it says, "Pull down for the escape portal," so Alex can use that. But when Alex actually uses the portal pull station, 3 different portals open in front of him. The first one leads to a gladiator arena filled with all kinds of wild animals. The second one leads to the inside of an active volcano. And the third one leads to an island inhabited by creepy sirens whose singing make everyone fall into an eternal sleep. Which one should Alex pick? Do you see the headphones Alex has inside his backpack? Well, he can use them to cancel the singing of the sirens, so he should choose the third portal. Alyssa left her gym bag in the dressing room and went to get a towel from the receptionist. But when she returned, her bag was gone. She called security and they interrogated 3 people. Jennifer said that she was taking a shower at the back. Jessica said that she had left to get something to eat from the vending machine. And Jenna said that she was talking on the phone with her boyfriend, not paying attention to anything. Who stole the bag? It's Jessica. She said that she was getting something to eat from the vending machine, but there's no food in it, only drinks.
Tyson was thinking about buying a gym membership. There were only 3 gyms in the area where he lived. The first one was called Iron Muscles Gym, the second one was called Stronger You Gym, and the third one was called Fit for Life Gym. Now take a look inside all of them. Which one should he choose? Do you see the clean towels wardrobe inside the Stronger You Gym? They don't look clean at all. It's not the best option unless he loves germs. And take a closer look at the running mill inside the Fit for Life Gym. It's broken. That's an accident waiting to happen. So he should pick the Iron Muscles Gym. Ellie and Ollie were looking for a nice hotel to spend their vacation together with their puppy. After checking out some places online, they brought down their options to 3. Take a look at the website of each of them. Which one should they pick? notice the small stock photo sign on the photos of the first hotel's website? That can only mean they are scamming people. The second hotel seems like a good option since it's a 5-star one. But do you see the small sign on the website that says, "No pets allowed"? They can't go there with their puppy, so they should stay at the third hotel. James and Jonathan went camping in the woods. As they were searching for the perfect place to set their tents, they came across a river that only had one bridge to cross to the other side. However, as soon as they stepped on it, a troll appeared in front of them and said, "I'll only let you pass if you answer my riddle. Until I am measured, I am not known. Yet how you miss me when I have flown. What am I?" The answer is time. Hillary was sitting in her hotel room when someone knocked on her door. She opened it and saw a man whom she had never seen before. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I have made a mistake. I thought this was my room." He then walked back to the elevator. Hillary immediately locked the door after him and called hotel security. What do you think made her so suspicious? Nobody knocks on their own hotel door, but the man did that. Captain Bluebeard was traveling the sea with his crew. At one time during their voyage, 2 of his sailors were standing on opposite sides of the ship. One of them was looking west, and the other one was looking east. But at the same time, they could see each other clearly as well. How was that possible? The sailors had their backs against either ends of the ship. Newton and Curie were 2 history professors from Planet Q. To complete their planet Earth research, they had to explore a place the Earthlings used to call a school. There, they found a piece of paper with a handwritten number on it, but couldn't come to an agreement about what the number was. Newton was saying it was 6, and Curie was saying it was 9. Who was correct? Do you see this teeny tiny dot here? That can only mean the number is 9. So, Curie is right. Yeah! The Foggy Mountains region of the Kingdom of Endolia was occupied by the most vicious dragon. The king called Knight Samuel to go on a quest to defeat it and take all the gold it stole from the people back. Yeah! So, Knight Samuel hopped on his horse and reached the mountains after a long journey. Once the dragon saw him, it said if Knight Samuel knew all 3 of its riddles correctly, it would leave the mountains as well as all the gold. The first one was, "Soft and fragile is my skin, I get my growth in mud. I'm dangerous as much as pretty, for if not careful, I draw blood. What am I?" It's a thorn. "You're a clever one, Knight Samuel," the dragon said. "Here's my second riddle. I am a box that holds keys without locks, yet they can unlock your soul. What am I?" The answer is a piano. I have only one riddle left for you, but be very careful. If you can't answer it correctly, this kingdom shall be mine. When you went into the woods, you got me. You hated me, yet you wanted to find me. You went home with me because you couldn't find me. What was it? The answer is a splinter. Annie forgot her computer in her dorm room, but she urgently needed to use one to submit her school paper. Her mom had a laptop in the study room, but it was password protected. However, she was easily able to figure out the password. How did she do it? Take a closer look at the bookcase inside the room. Some of the books have letters instead of their titles on the side labels. This book has the letter A, this one has N, another N here, there's an I on this book's label, and this one has an E. So the password is Annie. Professor Guillermo was the headmaster of the Academy for Superheroes. He was also responsible for holding examinations to select new students for the Academy. There were only 3 students left who successfully made it to the last part of this year's exam. To pass it, they all needed to show Professor Guillermo their special power. The first student's power was going invisible. The second student could make objects fly. And the third student could bend metal with her mind. However, Professor Guillermo realized that one of them was an imposter. Which one is it? Take a closer look at the object that the second student is levitating. Do you see the small on-off button here? That can only mean it's actually some tech device that can fly on its own. So he is the imposter. Jane was competing at Who Wants to Be a Billionaire? And she was only one question away from the $1 billion prize. The question was, it's true, I bring serenity and hang around the stars, but yet I live in misery, you'll find me behind bars. With thieves and villains I consort, in prison I'll be found, but I would never go to court unless there's more than one. What am I? It's the letter S. Dylan was going to buy a new car. The salesman showed him 3 options. Which one should he choose? Take a look at the side door of the first car. The paint on here is chipped. It's not wise to get a car that's already damaged. The third car's left tire rim is cracked. This one is also a pass. So he should get the second car. Oh, yeah. Catherine has 4 daughters, and each of her daughters has a brother. How many children in total does Catherine have? Each daughter has the one and the same brother, so she has 5 kids. Rachel and Ashley were best friends, but one of them was living in Japan, and the other in the United States. Rachel had purchased a BFF bracelet for Ashley and wanted to mail it to her. However, the only way to make sure the bracelet would be received was to place a lock on the package. Rachel had locks and Ashley had locks, but neither had keys for each other's locks. How can they ensure the bracelet isn't stolen? Rachel should place a lock on the package and send it to Ashley. Ashley then should place one of her locks on the package and send it back to Rachel. Rachel removes her lock and sends the package back to Ashley. Marla goes to the grocery store and buys 1 dozen eggs. As she's going home, all but 3 eggs break. How many eggs are left unbroken? The answer is hidden in the question. She has 3 eggs left.
There's a historical medieval castle where the legend says lived a beautiful princess and a werewolf. One day, a lonely tourist walks in there to take some photos. To his surprise, the princess is actually there. She greets him, but says the werewolf hates any visitors, so she has to hide him. She then takes him to a secret room in the basement and locks the door. However, when she checks on him the next day, she sees that he's turned into a werewolf too. How did the werewolf find out about him? The princess is the werewolf. After a long day at work, Jamie arrived home only to find a burglar had broken into his house. Once he headed to his bedroom, he realized that the burglar was actually still inside his house. How did he figure that out? Take a look at the t-shirts that's hanging on the handle of his wardrobe. It keeps moving slightly. However, the windows are shut and the air conditioner is off, so there's no way any wind may be causing that. It must be the thief hiding inside the wardrobe. Check if Jamie is still in the room or not. Carrie is invited to a spooky-themed costume party. When she arrives there, she sees 3 people dressed as ghosts, but 2 of them are actually real ghosts. Can you tell who's human? Do you see the first lady? She has no shadow despite the light coming from her back. So she must be a real ghost. And notice that the light just passes through the arm of the third guy? He must be a real ghost too. So the second lady is human. The police department called Inspector Kim to solve a robbery case. The thief was last seen entering the graveyard with the sack of gold he had stolen from the jewelry store. They were able to catch the robber, but he was not revealing where he'd hidden the gold. Inspector Kim headed to the graveyard to investigate the scene, and he immediately found where the robber hid the gold. Can you? Take a look at the dates on these 3 gravestones. The second and the third look normal, but the first gravestone says this person lived from 1860 to 2020, and that's impossible. So, that must be some cover the robber made to bury and hide all the gold. The police officers called Inspector Kim for duty once again when 3 houses all next to each other were robbed on the main street. Inspector Kim questioned the owners of each of the houses to see if they'd seen something suspicious. The first man said he had not been inside his house when the thief broke in. The second man said he had been on the second floor listening to music with his headphones on, so he hadn't heard anything. And the third man said he'd been taking a shower, so he hadn't heard anything either. Inspector Kim could immediately tell that one of them was lying. Can you? It's the second man. He said he was on the second floor, but the house is a 1-story house. Aaron was traveling on his motorcycle when he came across 3 different roads. The first one goes through a forest where all kinds of wild animals are waiting for their prey. The second road is the shortest, but it's all pitch black. And the third road goes through the river where the current of the water is extremely high. Which road should he choose? The answer is the second road, of course. He's driving his motorcycle, remember? He can easily use its headlight to see around and find his way. Lee and his best friend are trapped inside a haunted house for the night because a sudden snowstorm overtook the creepy town. All the doors and windows have become barricaded with piles of snow. Lee and his friends need to find a way to stay warm. After searching the entire house, they find 3 stoves: a coal stove, a wooden stove, and a gas stove. However, they have only 1 match. What should they light first to survive the night? The match, of course. Take a look around this house. There are 3 signs that suggest it's being haunted. Can you spot them? Do you see that some invisible hand is writing something on the foggy window? Then there's a cat, which is acting scared, although it seems like there's nothing in front of it. And lastly, this statue is blinking. Allison was suspecting that her house was being haunted. After she did some research on the best Ghostbusters and monster hunters in the city, she brought down her options to 3. Take a look at the newspaper ads of all 3 of them. Which one should she choose? The Ghostbuster in the photo is posing with the zombie he caught. But take a closer look at the zombie's arm here. You can see his real human skin peeking through. That means he's actually wearing makeup, and he's not a real zombie. As for the third Ghostbuster posing with the ghost he caught, do you see the hologram machine behind him? That means he's also faking it. So, the best option is the second Ghostbuster, who is not posing with any kind of monster and is not trying to trick anyone. After the Ghostbuster arrived at Allison's house, they started checking on all the rooms together. Once they entered the bathroom, the Ghostbuster immediately knew that the ghost was hiding there. How did she do it? Do you see the footprints on the floor? But Allison was wearing her house slippers all this time, and the Ghostbuster had her shoes on. So those definitely don't belong to either of them, which can only mean They belong to the ghost. Florence went to the clothing store to buy herself a new dress. As she was waiting for her turn to use the dressing rooms, her eyes caught two strange-looking people who were also doing some shopping. However, it seemed like one of them was actually a ghost. Can you tell which one? Take a look at their reflections in the mirror behind them. The first lady's reflections look perfectly fine, but the second lady's reflection shows her face and everything, whereas it's supposed to show her back, so she must be a ghost. Caitlin was driving to her parents' house across the country, but on the way, she took a wrong turn and lost her way. She ended up on some narrow and lonely road. Suddenly, a security guard stopped her and said,
"You're on private-owned farmlands, so I can't let you pass. But I'll direct you to the main road if you answer my riddle. I protect the crops, I stand tall, and my purpose is to strike fear in all. What am I?"
The answer is a scarecrow. Danny was sitting at the bench enjoying his drink when he saw three people coming out of the sea. However, something about them felt strange to him. One of them was actually a sea monster. Can you tell who? It's this third guy. Do you see his footprints on the sand? They start out as a weird webbed foot shape, only to turn into a human footprint later. Friendly Ghost Casper's father had 3 sons. The names of 2 of them were Stretchy and Stinky. What was the third son called? He was called Casper, of course. Danny got lost in the woods, and he was feeling very tired and hungry. After a while, he finally came across a house that was made of candies. He couldn't resist and took a bite from it. At that moment, a witch appeared and said,
How dare you eat my house? I will punish you unless you answer this riddle correctly. Ancient knowledge few can know. In the night is where I roam. Vermin I grab in my flight. No one can hide from my sight. What am I?
The correct answer is an owl. Today, I only have 2 riddles for you, but it means that you're not going to crack them easily. Prepared? Here's the first one. Far, far away from any civilization, there is a remote island with 20 inhabitants. They were born there, and all their lives they've been into math, which helped them become pretty perfect logicians. Unfortunately, they're imprisoned, being trained to win the Nobel Prize, and they can't leave the island. Well, actually, there's a way. Each islander can approach a guard at night and ask to leave the island. If the islander who asked to leave has green eyes, they will be allowed to leave. If not, they'll be tossed into the island's volcano instead. So, obviously, no one takes the risk, because none of them knows their eye color. The thing is that all of them actually have green eyes, so each one could theoretically leave, but, well, none did. They don't have any reflective surfaces, they're mute, and they're not allowed to communicate with each other in any way. The only time they all see each other is during the lineup every morning. One day, I got the privilege to travel to the island and present myself during the lineup. I could make an announcement, but there was one strict rule. I couldn't tell them any new information unless I wanted to be thrown into a volcano. But I really wanted to help those guys out, so here's what I said. At least one of you has green eyes. How many days will it take all of them to leave the island after my announcement? Okay, maybe 20 is a bit hard to figure out right away. So let's first consider the case of 2 islanders, Etta and Phi. Both of them have green eyes, but they don't know their eye color. So the day when I announce the statement, they pay attention to it and look at each other, remembering the eye color.
Etta sees that Phi has green eyes, which aligns with my statement, but she can't be sure that she has green eyes too. Phi does the same. She sees Etta's green eye color, but he isn't sure about his own eye color. So, the night comes and none of them leaves. When they both see each other the next day, they realize something. Etta realizes that if Phi had seen that she didn't have green eyes, he would have understood that the one person with green eyes was him and would have left the island that night. But he didn't do it. So, Etta realizes that Phi saw her green eyes and wasn't sure about his eye color. So her eyes must be green. Phi has the very same logic and figures out that he has green eyes too. So, now they both know it, and the second night, they both leave. In the case of the two islanders, they both left the second night. Now, let's say there are 3 people on the island: Etta, Phi, and Theta. Each of them sees 2 green-eyed people, but they still can't be sure about their own eye color. So, no one leaves the first night. In the morning, they see each other again, but unfortunately, none of them are sure again. Theta thinks that possibly her eyes aren't green, and Etta and Phi were watching each other. She figures that now they will both see that none of them left and will leave the next night. Each one of the 3 thinks so, and once again, no one leaves. The second night passes, and the 3 islanders meet the third morning. So, Theta is now sure that Etta and Phi weren't just watching each other, but her too. So she must have green eyes. Etta and Phi, who were following the same logic all the way, realize the same thing. So all of them figure that they have green eyes and leave on the third night. Now, if I add another islander, the same logic will work, and it'll take one more night to figure it out. In our case, there are 20 islanders. They will all see 19 green-eyed islanders and will all wonder if others see 18 or 19 green-eyed islanders. So they will watch each other for 19 nights, and when they see each other on the 20th morning, they will all leave on the 20th night after that. Okay, great job. Here's the second riddle. This one is much easier in my opinion, so I'll give you a little break. But you still need to keep your brains turned on. You take a voyage across a sea, delivering fish tanks with rare species of fish to scientists who will work on increasing the population of that said fish species. But on your way, you get into a storm, and the fish tanks get drowned in the sea. The records get lost too, so you're not even sure how many fish tanks there were to start with. Still, you must find them all. Good news, there's a rescue submarine you can use, but there's only enough fuel for one trip to the bottom of the ocean. So, before going down, you make some inspections. Thermal imaging detects 50 organisms in the areas where you have lost the fish tanks. Those are your fish and sharks, which are not yours. Using a scanner, you scan 3 regions of the sea more closely: Region A, Region B, and Region C. The scanner shows that in Sector A, there are 4 fish tanks and 2 sharks. In Region B, there are 2 fish tanks and 4 sharks. Just as you're about to scan Region C, the scanner breaks down and doesn't show you anything. So, you need to figure out how many fish tanks there are to send to the submarine. This is not an easy task, especially with lost records. You don't know exactly how many fish tanks were on board, but you remember that there were no more than 13 of them. You also don't know how many fish there are in each fish tank, but you know that it's the same amount in each one of them. There's also information that in every sector there's a different amount of sharks, and not more than 7 in each one of them. Knowing all this, can you figure out how many fish tanks drowned in Sector C? The best way to solve this kind of problem is by using a table. So, we know that there are 13 fish tanks at most. 6 of them were located in Sectors A and B, so there are between 6 to 13 fish tanks in total. Can't be more, can't be less, since we already have 6. Now, let's move on to the sharks. In each sector, there are no more than 7 sharks. Also, there's never the same amount of sharks in 2 regions. Since regions A and B have 2 and 4 sharks,
The possible number of sharks in region C is 1, 3, 5, 6, and 7. Let's put these numbers in the rows. In a column next to it, we put 6 in each row. That's the number of sharks in regions A and B. Now we know that there were 50 creatures located in the waters. So for each possible amount of sharks, we can calculate the remaining amount of fish. 43 in case of 6 sharks plus 1 in region C. 41 in case of 6 sharks plus 3 in region C. 39 in case there are 5 sharks in region C. 38 if there are 6 sharks there, and 37 fish in total if there are 7 sharks in the last region. Okay, now we have to remember that the number of fish is the same in every tank. So, the total amount of fish must be divisible by one of the possible values for the total amount of fish tanks. 43, 41, and 37 are prime numbers that aren't divisible at all. In case of 38, we'd need 19 tanks, 2 fish in each, but we know that the maximum number of fish tanks is 13. So the only possible scenario is 39 fish in 13 tanks, meaning 3 fish in each tank. So, in Region C, 7 more fish tanks got lost on the bottom of the sea. I hope you can find them all now. Hey Brightsiders, I've prepared a new portion of mind-boggling riddles. And what does it mean? It's time to put on your detective hat. Let's go!
Yeah.
Jake loved making bets with his friends. This time, he bet that he could put a bottle of water in the middle of his living room and crawl into it. His friends were sure they would win. But somehow, Jake won the bet again. Can you understand how he did it? Well, Jake said he would put a bottle of water in the middle of the room and crawl into it. But he didn't specify if he would crawl into the bottle or into the room. So he simply crawled into the room and won the bet. Now try to crack this riddle. It's nothing but holes tied to other holes. At the same time, this thing is as strong as steel, but not as stiff as a pole. What is it? It's a chain. Dylan was trapped in a basement. The only thing he found inside was a note and a pen. Find the way to get 200 out of 188 with one line, and you'll be free. 5 minutes later, the door opened automatically, and Dylan was free. What did he do? He drew a horizontal line to divide 188. This way, he got 2 1s and 4 zeros. Look at these 4 people in a grocery store. Can you figure out who is going to steal a watermelon? It's the man with a soccer ball. It seems as if he's holding something heavy. It must be the watermelon disguised as a soccer ball. Robert was a collector of unusual coins. One day, the man called the police and reported one of his rarest coins missing. He was sure the culprit was one of his brothers, Frederick or Matthew, who lived together with him. One of them collected ancient books, and the other was crazy about rare stamps. All the collections were kept in the same large room in the house. The key to the room was kept in a vase standing on the fireplace. The only other person besides the brothers who visited the house was Robert's friend Mark. When the police arrived, they found out the room had been opened with the key. The officers also didn't find any fingerprints. Do you know who stole the coin?
Uh-oh.
It was Mark. He was the only person who had a reason for getting rid of the fingerprints. The brothers' fingerprints would be absolutely natural since they live there. Now you have to think outside the box to crack this one.
Yeah.
1 is to 3 as 3 is to 5, and 5 is to 4. And 4 is the magic number. Can you figure out the pattern? The word 1 has 3 letters, the word 3 has 5, and the word 5 consists of 4 letters, but the word 4 has only 4 letters in it. And whatever number you try, eventually you'll come back to 4, and the game will end there. Look at this picture. Can you figure out which mermaid is his wife? Have you spotted a tattoo on the man's neck? It's the letter L, see? And now the mermaid on the right also has a tattoo. It's the letter J. They most likely depicted the first letters of each other's names, so they must be husband and wife. The next picture for you. Which girls are sisters? These two mermaids are sisters. Have you noticed that they have identical moles on their faces? Wow, a race on seahorses? That's something new. But can you figure out which mer person is cheating? One of the guys has a robotic seahorse. See that USB port on its neck? And now look at these young people playing beach volleyball. Can you figure out who's not human? It's this girl. If you compare her with her friends, she's the only one who's not sweating and isn't red-faced because of the heat and exertion. Kimberly inherited an old house from her rich aunt. When the young woman was exploring the cellar, she came across a massive wooden door. She opened it and saw a small room with 3 bags and a note. One of the bags has $1 million and the others are empty. You can only open one bag, so think carefully. Kimberly also noticed that there was a message on each bag. The first bag claimed, "The cash is not here." The message on the second bag was, "The cash is not here." And the third bag said, "The cash is in the second bag." If only one message is true, which bag has the money? The money can't be in the second or third bags. If it was so, then 2 messages would be true. It means the money is in the first bag. This next riddle will challenge your math skills. Add this number to the same one and multiply the result by 4. Then divide it by 8. And you'll have the very first number again. What number is it? It can be any number. You can try it out to make sure. Jason took part in a game show and ended up as one of the 2 contestants to make it to the finals. He came up to the table with 3 cups on it, but only one of these drinks was safe to try. The other 2 were poisoned. And even though a mistake wouldn't cost Jason his life, the consequences would be unpleasant. The drinks were tea with sugar, cappuccino, and hot chocolate. Which one should Jason choose? If it was indeed sugar in the tea, it would have melted completely, but it didn't happen. The cappuccino looks suspiciously green. It's probably unsafe to drink. Jason opted for the hot chocolate and won the challenge. A man was in an 8-story building when a fire started. He jumped out of the window but didn't even bruise himself. How is it possible? The man jumped out of the first-floor window. I was driving along the highway when one of my car tires burst. I stopped to change it, but when I came back to the car, I saw it had a flat battery. I looked around and realized I was in the middle of a small town. I decided to wait for someone who could help me. Suddenly, I heard glass shatter. The night was very dark, so I switched on the headlights and saw a man with a large bag climbing out of a house. I immediately ran to the nearest police station to report the crime. That's what Mr. Darrison told the police. The detective who was listening to him asked, "And where did you hide everything you'd stolen from that house?" How did he come to this conclusion? If Mr. Darrison's car battery was flat, how could he switch on the headlights? Can you figure out which passengers on this bus are zombies? There are 2 zombies on the bus. This man with a bandage on his neck and one ear missing. And this business lady sitting near the window. She's making bizarre growling noises. How about some rebus puzzles? Here we go.
Yeah.
What does it mean? That's how you greet people. Good afternoon. Okay, now try this one. It's progress underway. And how about this one? Ah, this one was easy. It's accelerate. It was winter when an elderly couple finished building a pretty new house. The husband was responsible for the construction, while his wife was a self-appointed decorator. The house looked beautiful. Very proud, they invited their grandchildren to have a look at their work. But within an hour, the kids managed to break several windows. They also knocked down the fence, removed the decorations, and ruined the roof. But the most bizarre thing, the grandparents didn't seem to mind. Can you figure out what happened there? The grandparents made a gingerbread house and invited their grandchildren to eat it.
Robert found a gold lamp in his mother's attic. He rubbed the lamp and a genie came out of it. The genie said he would grant Robert one wish and asked what it would be. Robert went downstairs to consult with his family. His wife wanted to have children. His father wanted to be rich. And his mother wanted to have perfect eyesight again. Interestingly, even though the genie granted Robert just one wish, all of the man's family members got what they wanted. What did Robert wish for? He wished for his mother to clearly see her granddaughter swinging on a swing made of gold. Smart, huh? Annie was locked inside a room with 4 doors. She could see that there were different kinds of dangerous creatures hidden behind each door. Behind the first door, there was a vampire. Behind the second, there was a zombie. Behind the third door, there was a mummy. And behind the last door, there was a werewolf. One of the doors was supposed to open in 1 minute, but Annie didn't know which one it would be. She had 3 different items she could use to protect herself: an axe, a torch, and an aspen stake. She needed to choose one that would help her fight any of the monsters. Which one should she choose? Her best option is the torch. Its fire can scare off any of the creatures and protect Annie. Dr. O'Brien invented a time machine and traveled all the way back to prehistoric times. Take a look at this picture and see if you can spot Dr. O'Brien amongst other prehistoric people carrying out their activities. That's easy. It's the guy with the flashlight. He must have taken it with him when he time traveled. Sarah was window shopping at her town's local mall when she saw her husband Tom inside one of the clothing stores. She got confused because he was supposed to be at work, so she went inside to confront him. "What are you doing here?" she asked him angrily. Tom said he was picking out an outfit for his company's end-of-the-year party. Sarah immediately shouted that he was a liar and that he was cheating on her. How did Sarah know? Look at the fitting room. Sarah saw a woman hiding behind the curtains. And also, look, Tom has a lipstick stain on his polo shirt. There were 3 thefts at a local supermarket. One in February, one in May, and one in July. Thankfully, the security camera recorded the footage of all 3 days. The store manager called Detective Moore to solve the crime. The detective noticed one detail that helped him crack this mystery. Take a look at the images Detective Moore saw. Can you also tell who the thief is? In all 3 videos, there is a pregnant lady. In the video from February, she looks about 7 months pregnant, but in the other 2 videos from May and July, her belly looks exactly the same. This means that she is the thief. She must have been faking the pregnancy all along. Beth and Mary sent selfies to their boyfriends, saying they were enjoying some alone time in the park. Take a good look at both selfies and guess which girl is cheating on her partner. In the first picture, we can see Mary treating herself to a lovely picnic by the lake. But hey, if she's alone, what's that pair of men's shoes doing in the corner of the photo? Mason came home one day and told Julia that he was going to be transferred to a research lab in Antarctica. He was beyond happy to get this job offer, so the couple decided to try a long-distance relationship. Julia asked Mason to send her as many pictures as he could, and that's what he did. After seeing the pictures, Julia sent him a text saying, "We're over, Mason. I know everything now." Take a look at the pictures Mason sent Julia. How did she know he was cheating on her? The last picture Mason sent has some palm trees peeking out. But there are no palm trees in Antarctica. Plus, look at those polar bear photos. Polar bears don't live in Antarctica. Mason must have photoshopped the pictures and has been lying about where he is all along. Oh, in the picture in the middle, there's a lipstick stain on Mason's shirt. Alice was at a crowded concert. Suddenly, she felt somebody reaching into her bag and pulling out her wallet, which only had credit cards inside. She couldn't see who the person was, but after checking the footage from the surveillance cameras, security guards were able to narrow it down to 3 suspects. Johnny said he had been waiting in line to use the toilet for hours and didn't have anything to do with the theft. Jenny said she was super rich and didn't need other people's cards to pay for things. Penny said she'd been focused on singing along with the band to notice what had happened. The security guards immediately understood who the thief was. Can you figure it out too? Well, nobody told Jenny that the wallet only had credit cards, but somehow she still knew it. She must have stolen it. It's finals week at Sunshine High, and the students are nervous. On the day of the physics exam, the head teacher enters each classroom to personally make sure there are no cheaters around. As soon as he enters classroom 2B, he spots a student cheating and suspends them immediately. Take a look at the classroom. Can you tell who is cheating? It's that guy with his legs crossed. He wrote the answers on his calf and is now cheating to pass the exam. Jack is in a cold cell. There's only bare ground beneath his feet. In the cell, there is one window, but it's located too high. There are no stairs and no chairs, just a shovel. He needs to get out of there as quickly as possible. He can't dig a tunnel and go deep underground since the walls are really thick. Jack would get exhausted long before completing the tunnel to freedom. Can you figure out an easier way to get out of the cell? He needs to dig a large hole in the ground and use the dirt to make a small hill. He can then climb it and reach the window. In a kingdom far, far away, an old lonesome king lived. The king was worried because he had no heirs to his throne. One day he came up with an idea. He decided to give each child in his kingdom a seed. He promised that the child who would grow the most beautiful plant would become his heir. 3 months later, thousands of children came to the palace. All of them had amazingly tall and green plants in their hands, but one girl had a pot that was empty. However, she was the one that the king chose to be the future queen. What made him do so? It turned out that the king had given children fake seeds, and the girl turned out to be the only honest child. Take a look at these images and try to guess what's wrong. Duh! In the last picture, the woman is trying to eat soup with a fork.
Elvis is a wedding planner. He receives a call from his client, Megan. She's very upset. Megan is getting married in 3 hours, but she has just discovered that her wedding dress is cut in pieces. Elvis comes over with a new dress. He interrogates the bridesmaids. Shannon says,
I was washing Megan's clothes in the bathroom. I don't know what could have happened.
Diana says,
I was hanging out with her mom in the garden. I didn't even touch the dress today.
And Amy says,
I applied makeup in the dressing room, and then I went to the canteen to have a snack.
who destroyed the dress? Diana. She's hiding scissors in her hair bun. Megan offers Elvis 2 trays with cupcakes. Can you find 10 differences between them? Here they are. The next day, Elvis is having business meetings with engaged couples. Surprisingly, one of these 2 couples are vampires.
Oh no.
Can you guess who? It's all about the mirror. Take a look at the second couple. Their appearance doesn't match the reflection. Therefore, they're vampires. Delivery service brings a fancy bouquet to Elvis's office. It has 77 flowers, out of which all but 15 withered. Can you count how many flowers are still fresh? To solve this mystery, we should pay attention to the question. The phrase, all but 15 withered, literally means that all except 15 flowers are dry. Therefore, only 15 flowers remain fresh. Elvis shows 2 variants of flower decoration to his clients, William and Tiffany. This couple is very picky. They want their wedding to be perfect. Tiffany says,
But they're identical.
and William says, no, they're not. I can see 5 differences. Who's right? Nobody. In fact, there are 10 differences between these 2 images. After that, Elvis shows William and Tiffany 4 wedding cake samples. Unfortunately, they didn't warn him about their allergies. Tiffany is allergic to strawberries, while William can't stand chocolate. Can you guess which cake they would choose? The first slice contains both forbidden ingredients at once, and the fourth one has strawberry pieces in the middle layer, so we can exclude them. The third cake looks nice, but it still has a chocolate bottom. Only the second cake looks like a completely safe option. Then Elvis asks Tiffany, "What kind of wedding bouquet would you like?" Tiffany replies,
In my dream bouquet, all flowers but 2 should be lilies, all but 2 tulips, and all but 2 roses.
"Can you help Elvis count the total number of flowers in this bouquet?" To crack this riddle, we should pay attention to the phrase, all but 2. The correct answer is 3. Elvis's bestie, Claire, runs a luxurious wedding boutique. One day he comes over and she complains, "Somebody's stealing clothes from my boutique. Each time the guard fails to spot the thief, I fire him and hire another person, but we can't catch the thief." Elvis replies, "Let me take a look." He watches the camera records and spots the criminal right away. What about you? It's this lady. She cut off the labels. Elvis is visiting a small private jewelry shop to make engravings for his clients' wedding rings. But unfortunately, the door is locked and nobody answers his calls. There's a combination lock on the door. Can you help Elvis figure out the letter code to open it? There's a note on the door listing 5 words: diamond, daisy, opal, ruby, and emerald. One word is different from all the others. The correct password is daisy because all the other words are gemstones. Elvis enters the shop and looks around. Suddenly, he sees this wedding picture and freaks out. One of these persons is a werewolf. Can you guess who? It's a full moon, which means the werewolf will turn soon. It's the groom. He's trying to hide his claws in his pocket. Finally, the jeweler shows up and starts a conversation with Elvis. Suddenly, a huge stone breaks the shop window. It seems like someone did it on purpose. They call the police and interrogate 3 people nearby. Paul says, "I was jogging around the block and I didn't hear anything in my headphones." Emma says, "I live above your shop on the 4th floor. I was washing my window and suddenly I heard a terrible sound." And Frank says,
I was walking my dog nearby. I didn't look at your shop. I was too busy taking selfies with my pet.
Elvis figures out a liar right away. What about you? Emma, this building has only 3 stories. The jeweler offers Elvis a game.
There are 3 doors leading to a secret room with rare diamonds. If you manage to get there alive, they're yours.
But each way has hidden dangers. A hungry mountain lion guards the first passage. There's an aquarium with hungry piranhas behind the second door. And the third passage is filled with venomous scorpions. Which way is more or less safe? The second one. Elvis can just bypass the aquarium and go ahead. Elvis walks out of the jewelry shop with his brand new diamonds. Suddenly, a masked thief grabs the stones and runs away. Elvis follows him. The thief jumps in a car and leaves. There are 3 car drivers nearby. Each offers Elvis a free ride to catch the criminal, but only one of them is trustworthy. Can you guess who? The first guy's face is hanging on this wall. He's a runaway criminal. And the third guy's car lacks a wheel. Therefore, Elvis should pick the second driver. The thief parks his car near the local museum and hides inside the building. Elvis follows him and enters the main hallway. There are so many visitors here. Looks like the thief changed his outfit. Can you spot him? The thief was wearing a broken smartwatch on his right hand, so it's this guy. Finally, Elvis gets his diamonds back and invests them to fulfill his biggest dream, to open a trendy restaurant. He buys a building and orders furniture and household appliances online. He gets free delivery as a gift. The next day, 3 movers arrive and begin to bring in all the purchases. Unfortunately, one of the guys breaks an expensive TV. Elvis questions the movers. The first one says, "I was carrying the fridge into the house and accidentally dropped it on my foot. I didn't break the TV." The second one says, "I brought the sofa, so I was very busy, and I don't know who's guilty." And the third mover says, "I helped the first one with the fridge, and then I ran to get the first aid kit for his foot." One of them is lying. Can you guess who? The second guy said that he brought the sofa by himself, but it's too heavy for one person. Finally, the restaurant opens. Today is a special night for Elvis. His former classmate, Roger, is a famous restaurant critic. He comes over to check out this place. The evening goes perfectly, but the next day, Roger publishes a terrible review. "Stay away from this dump. It was the worst cake in my life." Elvis is confused. The waiter did everything perfectly. The barista made great drinks, and the chef made 3 perfect meals: soup, steak, and salad. Can you guess what happened here? Roger wrote that he tasted a cake, but it wasn't among the dishes that he actually ordered. Seems like he lied to ruin Elvis's business. The next morning, Elvis arrives at his restaurant and faces another unpleasant surprise. One of these 3 guys painted his window. He interrogates them. Mike says, "It was Harry." Harry says, "I didn't do it. It was Daryl." And Daryl says, "Mike painted your window." Can you help Elvis figure out who's guilty? Daryl has spray paint in his backpack, but only Harry's hands are stained. He must have messed up Elvis's window and then framed Daryl. Elvis hangs these 2 pictures as decor for his restaurant. Can you spot 10 differences? Here you go. In a city's museum, an expensive golden egg covered in diamonds went missing. The museum workers noticed it in the morning and, of course, they immediately reported the theft to the police. The city's best detective started investigating the case. She carefully looked through the footage and identified 3 main suspects. Then she saw a handprint on the glass the egg was placed behind. Take a look at these handprints and at the suspect's hands. Who is guilty? It's this person right here. Look, the prints of the fingers aren't full because something came in the way. This person is wearing rings right there, so it's their print. In a little town, someone stole an expensive silver collar for a cat, covered in diamonds and precious gems. The shop's owner called the police, and the investigation started. There were 3 suspects. Mr. Johnson said,
I came to look for earrings for my daughter's birthday. We don't have any pets.
Mrs. Martin said, I got a bracelet for myself. I didn't steal anything. Mrs. Tanner said, I have no idea what you're talking about. The thief is Mr. Johnson. There are cat footprints in his garden, so the family obviously has a pet. There was a robber in the city, and no one could catch him for several months. After another incident, the police saw the robber entering a hospital. They walked in and ran into 2 doctors. Which one of them is fake and is actually the robber? It's this guy, the one who's wearing headphones instead of the stethoscope. Mrs. Stevens went on a 3-month vacation, but had her workers coming regularly to maintain the house. When she returned, she realized that one of the workers was skipping quite a bit of work once in a while, going on an unplanned vacation themselves. Who was it? A gardener who takes care of the outside garden, a housekeeper who takes care of everything in the house, or a painter who is coming to paint her house. It's the housekeeper. Look, the houseplants dried out. Seems like he skipped a couple of weeks of work and probably only cleaned the house right before Mrs. Stevens returned. Do you think you can figure out who the bride of this man is? It's this woman right here. Look, she has the same tattoo as this guy. A small city's police got a message that monsters silently flooded the town and now live among humans. It's not a problem, but the police decided to identify them all to keep an eye on them. Can you help the police identify in which houses the monsters live? Here's the first task. You see 2 houses and a vampire lives in one of them. Which one? It must be this house, the dark one where the blinds are closed on all the windows. Vampires don't like sunlight. Okay, the next task is to find the house of a mummy. Here are 2 possible options. Which house does the mummy live in? This one. Look, there are bandages around the house. The next creature whose residence we need to identify is a gnome. Take a look inside 2 houses. Can you tell where the gnome lives? Probably in this house. All furniture is smaller and placed way lower than in the other house, so it must be the residence of someone small, like a gnome. Now, we need to find the house of a centaur. Take a close look at both houses. Can you identify the one? This one right here. See, there are horse prints on the pathways to the house. The last one. A real witch lives in one of these houses. Can you tell where you're most likely to be bewitched? Did you notice this cute black cat? That's a famous witch sidekick, so my bet is on this house. On a cold January night, Delaney was found unconscious in the cloakroom when her best friend Jane came looking for her. She was at a house party with a bunch of college students. The police interrogated several students, asking where they were around the time of the accident. Allison said, "I was upstairs all the time, dancing with my friends." Liam said, "I went to a kiosk to pick up some candy for my girlfriend. There were only drinks and chips." Oliver said,
I was talking to a girl. She seems to like me.
Who should have been taken to the police station? Liam. It's a cold night, and he would need a jacket to go to a kiosk. And if he needed a jacket, he would go into the cloakroom to get it, and would have found Delaney instead of Jane. So either he lied or walked past an unconscious girl. Ronan Collins, a successful businessman, went missing. His family reported it to the police. The main suspect was Ronan's business partner, Jennifer. She had been out of the city, but as soon as she returned, the police knocked on her door and asked if she knew something about Ronan's disappearance 2 weeks prior. "I just returned from my month-long trip to the Amazon rainforest an hour ago. I haven't heard anything about it." The detective didn't believe her right away and took her to the station for further investigation. Why? From the photos, we can clearly see that Jennifer dyes her hair. She says that she just returned from her trip, which was a whole month long. But her hair is perfectly dyed. Some roots would grow out, so she's lying at least about something. Esme was having a walk in a forest and got lost. But she found the house of a witch, walked in, petted her black cat, and asked the witch to take her home. The witch was busy operating on a frog, a rat, and a crow. She was using magical healing gloves, but she only had 2 pairs, so she needed Esme's help to figure it out, and then she'd take her home. How can she operate on all 3 animals with the 2 pairs of magical gloves, but remain sanitary? The witch should operate on the frog wearing the first pair of gloves over the second one. Then, she should operate on the rat using just the second pair. Finally, she should operate on the crow wearing the first gloves inside out, worn over the second glove. Detective Callum had to travel to a small neighboring city where dogs were being kidnapped every night, right out of the house. There were already 4 of them missing, and all of them were living on the same street. Mila was kidnapped first, then Karma the next night. After that, it was Jake, and then Mr. Sniffer. There were just 3 dogs left that lived on the street. Can you figure out which dog is going to be the next target? Look carefully at the dogs that were kidnapped, or actually at their collars. The first dog that was kidnapped has a red collar. Karma has an orange collar. Then Jake was wearing a yellow one, and Mr. Sniffers owned a green one. Seems like they're being kidnapped in order of rainbow colors. So, the next target should be this dog, the one wearing the blue collar. Mason called the police, reporting that his metal safe box with his savings was stolen. He walked into his bedroom right in time to spot the robber throwing the safe out of the window and disappearing in the window right after. So, Mason wanted the robber caught, or his insurance to pay him the money he had lost. The detective came to investigate. "Did you touch anything in the room after the incident?" he asked. "No, I came straight to you." "Then there was no robber," the detective concluded. "Why?" The robber couldn't go out of the window without stepping on the bed that was standing right by the window, but the bed is perfectly made.